Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Twine to Triangle, Mitch Kennedy, Original D-Rose, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMels24, Unimento, M Iron26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKiernan, Retro Bill, More Books, Kennebear, Bogey, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
I'm behind it. Look at the Bible. Hebrews 11:3. The worlds were framed by the word of God. Structure, support. Nothing I observe in my reality do I see anything that does not have structural support. I don't see anything hovering.
Well, there you go, Neil. You're looking at it at things through God's word. That's the way to do it, right?
That is correct.
All right.
Why are you explaining
Isn't that
this?
statement the opposite
Why are you
of God's
explaining this?
behavior?
Who cares? Didn't we cover this yesterday? Were you here, Neil? Who cares? Just have some bearing on your...
We covered it, right? But we didn't cover it thoroughly.
We covered it thoroughly enough. I've got a trimmed out clip from it. Who cares?
Okay, so how many shows have you got? I could take you to about maybe more than half the shows. The things you covered were recovered and recovered.
Missing my
But
point.
I'll be quiet if you don't want to talk about it.
No, I'm making a new point, Neil. A new point. Once you have figured out what relative density disequilibrium, gravity in all four forms, and incoherent dielectric acceleration, and rising up Earth claim, and how to debunk them, notwithstanding that you have all of that information, at that point, you, as a flat earther, have no claim to defend. None. So beyond understanding why relative density disequilibrium works and is scientifically validated, gravity is debunked because not all things go down and the Earth isn't rising up or spinning, you don't have any vested interest in it. Therefore, beyond the need for a glober to argue against your position you have no vested interest in, why are you doing this?
What are you talking about? I'm talking about structural support. I'm not talking about...
I know what you're talking about. I realise... Yes, I know what you're talking about, Neil. Why do you care whether or not a helium balloon is supported from underneath or being suppressed from the top? Who cares? Once you know it's not gravity and it's not the reason you're held to a side of a spinning water ball, who cares? Why do you want an explanation for this? Does it have some bearing on your world?
I don't want an explanation. All I said is I'm behind what Brian said with structural support.
Yeah, behind his explanation of relative density disequilibrium with the peppering of the words structural and support. Because that's going to serve you for what moving forward? Nothing. So it's just useful for a glober to take apart structural support now and then juxtapose it with gravity. That's very useful for them.
How are you going to do that? They can't do that. Stop.
That's the only reason this is being done. Why do you think I'm losing my shit with you? The only reason we're having this discussion for you to say that you're behind structural support is so that some dickhead baller can come along and tell you how it's wrong and therefore gravity. That's the only reason it's happening. And I'm sick of it.
Let me go ahead and give you every single argument Brian gave yesterday with the Earth curve calculator. Right back at you, Neil. That way you can't object.
Yeah, but see, I wasn't looking at it that way. I'm glad you told me, but I wasn't even considering that.
Why are we considering it at all? It's not our concern. We don't have a need for a force holding anything to the side of a water ball. So once you don't have a water ball to hold things to the side of, there's no interest for us as flat earthers. It's only useful for our opponents to have an opposite position to argue against in false dichotomy. That's the only reason it's being done.
Yeah, I wasn't putting that together.
Well, I am. I'm doing that. That's what I'm doing. I'm not just repeating stuff or telling you to stop saying stuff. In the yesterday's show, I peppered it with, I'm not decrying anybody who goes through these things, because you have to get to the point where you understand all of the arguments to be able to say, well, that was pointless. So just knowing that we're not on the side of a ball needing a force holding us to it was enough to just say, okay, well, I don't need anything else then. But I didn't know that was the case until I got to the point where I understood all the counter arguments. Now I do. What's it useful for? Beyond offering the opponent a position to argue against? And the answer is nothing. Now, yesterday, Brian was like, oh, well, they've been using Archimedes' principle in engineering for years. Yeah, you might have a job that's directly related to it. So what? My daughter might become an artist and really need to know about how blue the sky is, but until it becomes an actual useful argument for us, or had a position that the Globe was claiming that needed defending, therefore we've got to have a straw man about why the sky is blue, doesn't alter that at some point in my daughter's life, as Brian used that example, she might find it useful to figure out why the sky is blue for her job. But does that have any bearing on the geography or the nature of the Earth or this discussion that we're having? No, it doesn't. That's the point. Just helps our opponent. And until people start recognising that, they'll still go, well, I want to know. Why what? Why all things go down, they don't? Yeah, but I still need to know why that happens. What happens? Nothing's happening.
Right. If you're not accepting it's a malformed question, why are you bothering to give them an explanation for anything at that point?
Yeah, I usually don't. Like I said, I wasn't even considering that. Now that the way you explained it, I understand.
Okay, Neil. The unicorns create the xenon gas that we all rely on. It produces a special material for our bladder to process the water.
Yeah, I got it.
Just hear me out. The xenon gas is produced by the unicorns. Once you say there's no xenon gas, that's a force by equivalent, and there's no unicorns, that's a globe Earth by equivalent, do I need to suddenly start explaining why the xenon gas does what it does? Is that ever going to be necessary?
Of course not. No,
Right.
of course not. That's what we were talking about yesterday on Flat Source thing too, because I think you went over that video with Dave Weiss and Witsit, and they were just talking and debunking space, and I'm like, but why are they just not debunking it with the law of entropy? I mean, that place they're talking about can't exist, right? 1, 2, 3, it's over.
You know, one of the things I find real interesting about the claim of just down or just up. Have you ever let go of a balloon and seen it go just up? Or does it go back and forth as it flies up?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Right, because the pressure at each moment is different upon that balloon. You know, it's constantly, you know, as it goes up, the pressure is different from each side at all times. But it's going up.
Yeah, but Racey and them and Dell and them, see, they have to have some sort of force going on because that like I said, in the vacuum chamber, they said, yeah, but in the vacuum chamber, everything, why does it go to the base? Why does it go to the floor? Why doesn't everything go up?
Chamber. We don't live in a vacuum chamber. Who cares?
Yeah, I know.
The nature abhors a vacuum. Who cares?
Yeah, but like you say, they need some sort of force. It's the same thing. Anthony's right. Same thing. Bob Nodell. That's why he just hand waved Anthony's experiment because he still claimed you need a vector and you need a force.
It's quite handy.
And there wasn't any provided.
Quite handy that he, with the positive claim, had something to argue against, though, eh?
Yeah.
Quite
basically.
handy that. I mean, did Anthony need to make that claim? Did he have something to defend, to be in a position to be having a false dichotomy to argue against? Nah, but it was quite useful for Bob. Or a Glober, by comparison. Or Dell.
Yeah. And it sucks too because, Anthony figured out, the cause of a phenomenon, but they're not asking for that. They're asking why. It'd be like me pointing at the sky and saying, "Why is the sky on fire, Neil? Neil, you tell me why the sky is on fire then. If you don't believe my explanation for why the sky is on fire, you tell me why it's on fire."
Precisely. Once you figure out it's not on fire, what explanation? Well, how do you explain it? Explain what? Why the sky's on fire? It isn't. Yeah, but I still need an explanation for why that happens. It doesn't happen. And so you go on. Well, what about this example of the sun in the sky giving us heat? That's obviously the sky on fire. How do you explain it? Explain what? Why the sky's on fire? It isn't. But wouldn't it be useful if I now gave you an explanation for why the sky was on fire? Because then you could argue against it, couldn't you?
Yeah,
Yes, it
that's
would
what
be.
happens. Yep.
Even if you give me a rational reason for why at uh, the end of the day the sky looks red, if you give me a rational explanation for it, and I thought it was unicorn farts igniting, it's still not necessary. Neither side knows. You're both arguing from ignorance. It's completely unnecessary. But Neil, just so you know, the the Earth curve calculator it's just an intuitive way of looking at the Earth.
Okay, you got to explain that to me because I don't know why you're saying that.
Well, because 99% of the Western world, know they're on a sphere, Neil. It's intuitive, Neil. That's how the normal people understand it, Neil.
No, but you can't. We can prove that there's no Earth curve.
And I can prove there's no structure. Can you walk through structures? Yeah. No. Oh no, you can't. You're not God. Can't walk through walls.
I could
No.
walk through. I could walk through a framework.
Yeah, the framework has holes in it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That you can walk through. So you're not walking through their structure. You're walking through the holes in their structure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's useful.
So no.
Hold on. I've heard something about that in incoherent dielectric acceleration. What about, you mean like counter space? This is all making sense now, John.
I knew you were going to say that once they said framework.
No, counter space. You're moving through the spaces. So because there's spaces in the framework, I mean, this is all making perfect sense now. I'm glad we had this conversation.
Oh, so you're saying I'm giving a door for them to get in with their nonsense. I got it.
Be my new guru, please.
It's all the same fucking trick. I'm sorry, pardon my French.
No swearing.
It's all the same trick. It's all the same trick.
So to change this is the conclusion we came out with. Watching these morons do this freaking documentary. We're gonna put a documentary together with our arguments. The Black Swan and celestial navigation and gas pressure without containment. We're gonna do a proper documentary. Okay? So just be ready.
So why do you think those are arguments? I don't really understand how you mean. What do you mean by argument? Right, Neil.
Not an argument. It's case closed, but we're going to do a documentary on the stuff that we talk about here. Not debunking space and the astronauts are still alive that blew up on the shuttle, and here they are. They're just lying to you, and this and that and the other thing. We're going to do a documentary about flat Earth debate, quantum eraser, flatzoid, the things that are discussed in this arena.
Why a documentary? I'm not a documentarian. I mean, I'm a broadcaster, YouTuber. This is what I do. We are documenting.
Okay, so you'll have a quick interview of a YouTuber
Done all
talking
that.
about the things
I
we
did
talk
that.
about here.
I've done that. I've done all those things. But this, to me, in our lifetime, things will go one of two ways. One is that the level of suppression, which is getting more and more rife, will be ramped up further to the point where nobody finds us, literally nobody. Because at the moment, it's got to the point where half my subscribers are telling me it's really hard to find your live stream. Like, really? You're a member? What? You're like, yeah, your live stream was going out. I was in your Discord panel, but I couldn't find it on YouTube. Oh, right. Okay. Well, that could get worse and worse and worse, right? Or this is documenting the process of transition from an old, out-of-date, debunked by quantum mechanics rhetoric of a spinning ball in a vacuum to whatever the powers that should not be, if we're going to be conspiratorial about it, decide needs to be the new religion. So in the Western world, we have a Western world, or the one world, as they would hope it was, religion. It's called heliocentrism. Well, those sorts of control structures can't just be disavowed and gotten rid of. You have to replace them if you're keeping people under control. So what are they going to replace it with? I don't know. But documenting that process is a fascinating documentary, as you put it, in and of itself. But you have to document the process. A good journalist will, yes, edit together their piece at the end after they've done all the research. Well, what we are doing is documenting the process in format of debate, albeit it's more of a presentation style of late, although in amongst ourselves we do get into the wrangle dangle and debate some of the things that we discuss about the nature of Earth. But in terms of the flat Earth debate, that ended. It ended in 2020, 1st of January. That's when it officially ended. That was the end of the debate in terms of whether or not we're on a sphere. We're not. We're on a flat plane. It's measured, navigated, observed, flat. That's the end of that discussion. Once you can categorically pull apart the premise of us being on a sphere based on their own principles and geometry, that's it. That's the end of their claim. All right, what are we left with? The measurements of Earth. Okay, how do they work? Flat. Okay, so the debate's over. But we're still documenting the process, aren't we, Neil?
Yes, but I want it to be like, like I understand what
You want it to be
documenting is.
panorama.
Every day-
I know. You want it to be TV worthy, so that the masses could swallow it in a half-hour section before they lose interest, if there's enough dramatic music in it.
We don't have to have the dramatic music.
No,
Hold on.
I didn't say that. I said to keep the great unwashed, keep their attention for half an hour plus, would require dramatic music from the outset and a premise that has them on the edge of their proverbial seats.
How about the other side that could blow your channel right up to 100, 200,000 subscribers or more? How about that?
What, I become a
You ever
Glober?
think of that?
Tempting. Certainly financially viable.
Well,
Good morning.
what I was thinking is maybe the way we're looking at this is all wrong. We should be telling people not to share the information, to stay quiet about it. This needs to be kept secret.
Yeah, you might be right.
I've seen people market their shows in that way. There's a guy who I watch called Robot Underground. Even his title of his charity, which is done to train people on how to produce speakers, is positioned in that way, underground, so that you have the idea, the impression is given that you are part of a secret, you're part of a club that other people don't know about. Now, what's he doing? He's a distributor, he's selling product. So he wants you to buy his product to sell it on to the general public. Well, therefore, he needs to create the mystique that you, who's just some Joe Blogs that could buy anything from him if you find him and can buy stuff from him. He doesn't care if you're a member of the general public and you say, yeah, I'll buy 3 of them. And then took 2 on eBay and used the one I want. He doesn't give a crap. But he has to create the mystique of somebody having their own career and creating their own job and distributing his product. He just wants to flog his product. But that mystique of, look, we're underground. We know what's what. We have the knowledge. The guy who's coming to you to buy a subwoofer and put it in his car, he's not that guy. You need to be that guy. So us together, if you buy my product, we can achieve great things from the underground secret.
Yes.
How many people does he have?
So wait, you
How
can have,
big-
Less than me. That's all that matters. No, he's got about
you can
10,000
have a
subscribers.
show.
He's
you
got a
type-
successful. He's doing well. He's producing stuff. I really like his channel. I like his attitude. I like his business acumen. I like his technical knowledge. I like everything about him. The guy's great. He's absolutely filthy. He's really crude, which I don't particularly like. Occasionally, I used to like that humor when I was a teenager, and that's the market that you're appealing to. That mentality of you might be in your 30s, but you've certainly got a teenager mentality if you're putting giant subwoofers in your car, as far as I'm concerned. But that's the market he's appealing to. So dick and fart jokes are the order of the day. You know, that's what he's doing. He's got a sideline in selling men's sex products. He's selling pocket pussies or whatever you call them these days, an equivalent of a fleshlight. You're like, whatever floats your boat, fine. His argument for doing this is that he needs to keep the people who are buying his products more focused. Stop thinking about women. I mean, what a great angle. That's kind of crap. While I see it as absolutely ludicrous and absurd and laugh-worthy, it's working for him. And you think, yeah, from your underground, quote-unquote underground position, you're going to create that, as back on track as I'm trying to get us here, that mystique of it being a secret. And Validation Boy tried that. He actually told his audience exactly that. Don't tell people about Flat Earth. Let it be our little secret. When you find somebody who's like, yeah, like globe, this, that, and the other, just keep it to yourself. Just know you know better. Right? That was his attitude. No, I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, I'm trying to be a successful YouTuber, so it's definitely not conducive from that perspective. I mean, but from the point of view, do I want to change the world? In other words, if everybody was a flat earther tomorrow, other than me not having anything to talk about on my YouTube channel, what difference would it make? When people say that, you're like, it's an attitude adjustment that you take when you realise that you've been lied to in terms of the people who've disseminated the information. Once you've had that attitude readjustment, the way you move forward in life alters. You can't help it but alter because you're less trusting of certain information that does have a bearing on how you move forward in life. Now, that will change you. It will change you. When people say, how does it affect me? What difference does it make? I've still got to go to work tomorrow. Yes, you have. But you're just picking aspects that aren't altered and saying, well, it won't alter anything. It's a composition fallacy. Like, no. It will affect various different aspects of your life. Once you truly recognize where you have been deceived, what was used to do it, what were the techniques used, then you'll see them and go, hang on a second, this seems familiar. And you won't but help change the way you react to those things. Now, does that mean that suddenly the whole world is going to rise up against government? No. Would I want that? No. Do I think the government's good as a result? No. Because it's just not. I don't know why, Neil. It's like saying to a non-feminist, why aren't you a feminist? Now, that might seem weird. It's like, well, you've got a debate show on the nature of Earth. Do you not want the whole world to burn? No, I don't really. And would it cause great upset and distress for the people plugged into the Matrix? When they talk about it in the Matrix, they say, well, the people aren't ready to be plugged would just probably, I don't know how they phrase it, but they're talking about how they wouldn't survive if you just unplugged them. So
it just gets frustrating. It just gets frustrating a little bit.
It's beyond my capabilities.
On these documentaries talking nonsense. That's all.
Don't watch them.
It gets frustrating.
But just don't watch them.
Well, I was part of Flatzoid's panel, so I couldn't just not watch it. It just gets annoying. Well, we have the gold here, Nathan.
There's the problem. That's the problem. That's a great word. No. We have the gold. What's gold? Well, it's a metal. All right, what about it? Well, it's hard to find. It's really hard to process. Okay. Therefore, it has inherent value. What's value? That's something we ascribe to it because of its difficulty level in terms of its ability to be pulled out of the ground. All right. Well, what does that translate into? High dollar value. Oh, really? I see. That's that whole process. Is that like something that nature created? Oh, no, absolutely not. It's completely arbitrary. What do you mean? Well, it's just something we came up with. Men. Oh, I see. So by those standards, this information is by equivalent gold. So what? Took a long time to rip out the ground and therefore we ascribed a value to it? I see. Did the rest of society agree with our value that we ascribed to it, Neil?
Why are you flipping it like this?
Because I'm a realist.
All I'm saying is, A proper documentary about the stuff being disseminated here would be a lot better than what I'm hearing.
So just change what you... I said this earlier, and you were like, well, I was on flat side to panel. Okay, well, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. What do you want?
Not that I can't stand the heat. I'm just saying. All right. So stay the size you are and be happy. Fine.
No.
Nobody knows about it.
Neil
It'll
misses
be
this.
out in the
You miss this every time.
and nobody else
Just
will
stop,
know
stop.
about it.
Neil,
We'll just take
Neil.
it to the grave.
Neil, just calm down for a second. Take a chill pill. When Arwin is arguing the ball with me, I'm not trying to stop him when I contradict his position. When he's playing devil's advocate, he's not trying to suppress me disseminating flat earth information. Likewise, when you have your opinion in this regard, I'm not trying to stop you from coming out with it and expressing it in the way that you are. I want it to be expressed so that we can have the discussion. But don't take it as, well, you're just trying to flip the script on me. Why are you always... No. Don't take it personally. We are recording. This is for an audience. The back and forth in regards to your position versus my contra-positive position is useful to an audience. Doesn't mean I want you to stop doing it.
No, I understand that. Now back to the documentary.
Hello.
What's that
Hey,
noise?
Ted, good morning.
What's that bloody noise?
Oh, gosh, you guys
What's that
are like
noise?
a
What's that
broken
noise? Who's
record
making
here.
that noise? Digger 76. Hello? 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 Someone's muted him, server muted him. Okay, sorry about that, lads.
No problem. Yeah, if you want Nathan to get a documentary, it'll be on noise.
What was that? It'd be what?
If you want Nathan so badly to do a documentary, it's going to be about noise, unnecessary noise. He'll get into that. Okay, but again, what are you all fired up about? Just because you were on Flat Sword shows and you reviewed a video or what?
Yeah, it was freaking. I don't know even know what the video was, but it was David Weiss and Whitson and it debunking NASA and
Okay.
it's just.
So what are you all worked up about, though? Just one sentence, please.
Well, I'm just thinking if we like the documentaries that come out are so horrible. Like we could really corner the market with ours, where people it would get out and they would hear celestial navigation. They would hear
No,
that you
we've
can't have
already
gas
done it.
pressure without containment. They would
We do it
hear.
every week.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying and like, forget it. It's
He
Can I
wants
say
to
something?
repeat. He wants the dramatic
let me
music.
finish.
He wants something TV ready. He wants something that's going to keep people's interest for a 3/4 of an hour,
Hey,
half an
Nathan,
hour period.
Did
He
you
wants
hear
it.
about the YouTube thing?
What's the YouTube thing?
They updated their policy about disinformation. They said that they're now going to allow people to talk about the election and COVID. They're going to allow that on YouTube, even though supposedly the science is settled. They did a new policy change now they're going to do about false information.
I wouldn't trust that.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's a really well done documentary.
They said they're going to allow it.
I was going to add something.
Do you know why?
And it pertains.
All right.
Hold on a second. Yeah, because you were talking earlier about like, oh, it could get more censored and so on. And I was going to say, no way, that's not the case. They're never going to fully suppress something because they like discourse. That likes people arguing. So it's usually when something is really current rhetoric that they really put the brakes on it. But once it's not current rhetoric anymore, they kind of release the brakes a bit. Just like with the CNN FE, you notice now that the algorithm is not as bad as it used to be. Like I Googled some stuff that I used to, I mean, not Google. I YouTube searched some stuff that I used to before, and it used to be like on a 20th page, but now it's actually on the first page. So they actually lessened it a bit. So that's what I wanted to say.
But see, we're not in discourse. We're not in disagreement. We've went to the root of it. So yeah, we will be quieted.
All right.
Yeah, but that's not true
So
for us, is
anyway,
it? That's not true for us. I mean, it may be the case that they've taken the brakes off, but in terms of a YouTube search for Flat Earth, you get preferred content. They talked about it in Congress. Nothing's changed. So, the reason when you search for Flat Earth debate, you immediately find Dave McKeegan and Simon Dan is because they're quote-unquote preferred content. So sometimes it's not
Correct.
necessarily about suppressing something, it's about putting something in over the top of it, which has the same exact effect. I mean, I don't care how you phrase it. The net result is the same.
Well, it's still suppressed, but just the brakes aren't as hard as they used to be on. Let's say that, right? In certain areas, depending on what they deem needs to be like slowed down or not, depending on how, you know what I mean? It's like they're throttling it. Does that make sense?
I
That's
don't know
probably
if
a
it's
better
a
word.
cause for celebration, but I mean, they say it's a change. So
You can run into the same situation that a one-on-one conversation runs into. If I have a well-done documentary, as Neil is putting it, or if I have a relationship with a friend and I bring up anything to do with the subject, which is something we need to all figure out how they're using that against us. See, well, let me finish that thought first. So if I go one-on-one with a friend, he's just going to diss me. And they have, except my real good friends don't diss me. That's how you find out who your friends are, by the way. They go, wait a minute, are you kidding me? You think it's for real? And then we enter a nice discussion. But the other ones think you're crazy because that's the way the system is set up for that indoctrination to make us look like tinfoil hats. But rather than play their game, which is flat Earth, I'm not even trying to prove a flat Earth. I'm debunking the globe lie. I'm debunking heliocentrism. I'm debunking curvature. This is Jan 2020, Sexton argument right there as well. Gas pressure as well, right? Lack of Earth-based Coriolis. All I got to do is debunk the globe. Boy, what are you, one of those flat earthers? Well, maybe, I don't know. Well, I know one thing, it's not a globe spinning. I know we got topography. I know that it measures, navigates, and needs to be sea level flat for that. But can we just first look at what it cannot be? Get that off the table. So now you're left with nothing except, okay, well, we know they lied. It's not a globe because you just proved it. What is it then? Well, no longer do you look crazy. But if you give them the flat earth, if you go in with flat earth or if they call you flat earth and you don't respond properly, they've already pegged you. They're not going to listen to you. And I don't care if it's a color documentary or anything, it ain't going to work.
That's interesting because you could concede every single one of those arguments and Earth still has to be flat.
Mm-hmm. That's why I love what Nathan does. And sometimes we miss it. He's not trying to prove anything. He's not making any claims. He just knows he could debunk what the current claims are and what they say a reality is. Now, if you do that and the people show no interest, walk away, because if that doesn't startle them, then they just want to make sure their 401k is good and they can get a good night's sleep tonight and have the weekend off. And they're not interested in being lied to, small scale or massive scale. If they don't react to a lie the way we have, all right, well, they're not worthy of all the research we go through. Why should we share with them?
Neil, have you got a pen and a piece of paper, Andy? Or are you driving? You there? Neil? Neil. Orange peel.
hey Nathan, I was listening to the Alpha Chad one, that video. Man, that was funny as hell. But how would you sum that up nowadays into 2023? How do you think the landscape has changed, or is it the same, or what's going on? How would you summarize that? 'Cause I know you just told your story and all that.
Summarize what?
The whole dating scene right now, as of when you were around to now today, has the behavior changed? What do you think?
I don't know. Why are you asking me this? This is a bit out of
I
left field.
don't know where he's going with this.
Where the hell has this come from? I don't know. I'm married.
I just saw your video right now.
Why would I know
I
that?
just saw your video right now.
Nothing
just saw
changes
the
too
Alpha
much.
Chat
Oh,
video.
sorry, the penny's just dropped. Yeah, okay. So I also look at beekeeping, just so you know. What else do I currently look at? Oh, I can't think of the other subjects I'm currently looking at. Scientology.
Goes broke or something like that.
I look at crap. Like, you know, when you sit, for your average Joe, normie, they watch EastEnders here in the UK, which is a soap opera, right? That's what they do to just unwind and suspend disbelief, relinquish the thoughts of their mundane world, if that's what they're doing. That's what they do to just unwind and have a zong out, no brain, don't have to think about it TV session. That's what that's for. For me, it's watching men going up to masses of bees and wasps and either removing them or homing them at the moment, because they very unlikely talk about flat earth in that. I'm not going to suddenly have to think about how I'm going to put a comment on the video going, no, gravity's not a force. I don't have to do that. I can just watch it and then watch the next video. Now, dating videos, I don't know how that's come up on my feed for me to start watching it, because it's always reactive. Oh, that's on my homepage. That looks like an interesting thumbnail. What's that? So there's a guy called Taylor the Fiend, who's a guy who's a cartoon. He's got a cartoon avatar of him with pointy ears, and he just reacts to TikToks of women going, men are all evil, and him going, no, men aren't all evil. You've just gone after the alpha chad for the last 10 years while you were in your prime. Now you've hit the wall at 30 and there's no men for you because they've lost interest. So I look at that and go, okay, that's interesting enough to keep my attention for 10 minutes. That's it. But it doesn't make me some dating expert. I haven't got a clue what's going on in the dating world. What I do know is...
It's entertaining for a reason then.
No, not at all. I mean, I'm happily married. So I've got no reason to watch these videos other than to unwind.
The content is entertaining.
I could only echo the sentiments of the videographers I've watched, unfortunately. And most of what they say, and I do mean most of it, I disagree with. I've got to be honest. I think they're misogynists and what's the female equivalent? Misandrist or something like that. I can't remember the word. But that's what those people, because of their extreme views, I find extremism in that regard quite amusing. It's like they're so black and white in terms of their views, and they occasionally pepper in, well, I'm not saying all women. I don't want the all police to come here. It's like, yeah, but that's because you've just used a stereotyping fallacy. So that kind of cracks me up. I can recognise all the fallacies, but I don't care about them. Sorry,
I
go
like
on.
watching police activity in the U.S. That's a good one. You just see people get shot. It's pretty fun. Like, put the gun down. I'm literally screaming at the YouTube screen, put the gun down, and boom, they blast them.
Can I ask you that question? The last time we talked about the dating thing and everything with the Alpha Chad, has that video came out?
Yeah, I released that video.
Oh, boy.
Nathan, can you go to Master D and get back on physics and geometry? I put a picture after the review video.
What picture? Oh, yes. Okay, yeah. I've got that up now.
All right. So here you got on the very left, September equinox and March equinox, 0, 0, 0. And then you've got different dates going to the solstices. And then you got the plane of the ecliptic, Earth's relationship to the sun. And notice the date for the March equinox and the September equinox. The Earth is at right angles to the sun. There it negates tilt. This is very important. Very important. Just as important as the sextant and the black swan. Now, everything's right angles when you want to measure or calculate. Why doesn't it work the other way? Because they've switched what the sun does over a plane in its circuit of 23.4 something. So they round it off sometimes to 23.5. So we'll just say 23.5. So it has the circuit, takes a year to do. Twice it goes over the equator. Imagine a plane. So the sun goes over the equator. So twice it's equal day, equal night on the equator. And then it goes no further south than 23.5. And then when it whips around on the northern circuit, crossing March 21st, vernal equinox, it goes to the furthest 23.5 north and swings down around, comes down to the September equinox and the southerly route. But that's a sun over a plane. Okay. And there is no earth tilt because it's a plane. What they're doing here is saying we live on a globe and we have a constant 23.5 degree tilt always, except on 2 dates. So now we're in their model, which is no model, but the earth is a ball spinning around the sun. And the date that they decide to use of all these dates here, okay, that they're going to measure everything by. The earth has to be at right angles perpendicular to the sun in their model, no model. An admission that the 90 degrees right angle triangles are necessary for everything. We've seen the picture already, right?
Right.
Yeah, let me show you what I mean. So I'm gonna put this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Coming
These are-
your way, 5 pictures.
Okay. Well, they haven't come yet, but I'll let you know when they do. Got 3 minutes, by the way.
Yep.
Okay. Got the first one. The one with the 4 tilts, right?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
one with
okay.
the telescope on the equator plane. So there you go.
No, not the no.
Oh, okay, I got you. Which
Got
one do you have first?
September. Is that the one that you wanted to go along with the last picture that we had up? I think it is. Okay.
No, just go. Yeah.
Telescope on the equatorial plane. Got
Yeah,
it.
there you go.
Yeah.
Perfect. So here it is, the equator plane, and this is going to extend all the way to the celestial sphere when they do it. But here it is, right there. It has to be aligned to north star so that your latitude, and it's got to be level.
got it,
We saw
lamps.
that. And the next picture shows
You got
the
it,
polar
sus.
alignment to the North Star. And here it's showing you up in the sky, the right angle, kind of what's happening, because that's a picture taken from Earth. You can see the tree on the bottom right. So again, you need a right angle. But in order to do all this, it's got to be the date of the vernal equinox where the Earth, in their model, no model, is at right angles. Now, it's not that way at all because we live on a plane and the sun is moving 23.5 degrees south of the equator, north of the equator over a flat plane. Next picture. This is all they need. The 90 degrees. This is why they hate 90. You got to subtract from 90. They can't have 90 unless they do this. Okay. And then the next picture.
Yeah.
So on Earth, when we
Lollipop.
use a horizontal coordinate system
it.
with 1 minute left, you need
Not
an
open it or not?
elevation angle. What's that? Okay. And then you get a zenith angle because you've positioned the stars, or in this case, the sun's 90 degrees. So all you need is the co-altitude. And then you got the azimuth angle, which is direction north to where the star is. And then the last slide that shows the Earth's equator extending into the celestial equator and that right angle, that perpendicular relationship that the vernal equinox gives them to have their 90. We don't live on a globe.
Well,
We live on a
you have to be
plane.
quick because I'm starting. Sorry.
All right. That's all right. I know you were busy, but it's okay. Got it. I'm done.
I was telling my daughter she's just making noise the minute I start doing my intro. She's dragging a big box of crayons out. Can you shut the door, please, Eleanor?
And that's the stuff that'll do great on a documentary, Tent. Thank you.
No, I thought you meant the crayon making noise. I told you, it's about sound. It's going to be a great documentary.
Welcome. Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by Neil, Refracted Curvature, 10th Man Rising, Arwin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Hey,
Good
love you.
morning.
A beautiful weather there,
Discord gang.
like here.
Beautiful weather.
Okay, I'm going to
How about
reiterate a
you,
point just
Nathan?
because it came up in the pre-show, and I'm going to trim out a video from yesterday's show where Brian and I discussed the merits of having a claimless, pointless assertion in terms of why we have some things going up, some things going down, and some things remaining neutral. Beyond the assertion that necessitates people stuck to the side of a spinning water ball flying through a vacuum, there is absolutely no requirement whatsoever for you as a flat earther to defend or make claims in that regard. Once the assertion from the globe, the positive claim that is, has been debunked, that's the end. You don't have to make claims. Now, if you choose to make some wild, outrageous assertion about Earth flying up or some other crap, then fine, that's obviously your prerogative. But there's no need to do it, because then all you're defending is the force you claim doesn't exist because all things go to the ground when they don't, because your outrageous claim of all things moving up on an Earth, moving up towards what I don't know, at 9.8 meters per second. So that is an unnecessary justification for an unnecessary assertion that is in no way proven beyond speculation. So you don't have to make a claim, you don't have to defend a claim, just debunk gravity. And we discuss that quite frequently here, but know this, once you're put in a position by a globe believer, or an incoherent dielectric acceleration believer, or an upward earth moving believer, to defend a claim that you aren't making, recognise that you're being put in a position of false dichotomy. It's much easier for them, the ones making a positive claim about Earth moving up or spinning, or flying through a vacuum, needing a force to hold you to it, to have you make a claim to defend against. You don't have to do that. Just take a big smile after you've taken apart their argument. So you understand, opponent, that your positive claim fails. What's that? How do I explain it? There's nothing to explain, not all things move to the ground. There is no force holding me to a spinning water ball. I don't have a claim after that. That's it. That's just the end of your claim. Goodbye.
Well, I said the same thing, except I used debunking the globe versus starting with flat Earth, because that's what they want to use against us. So my claim is I could debunk the globe in the current model, no model. It's totally a lie. I could prove it to you. Oh, are you one of those flat earthers? I don't know. I might be. It could be something, but all I know is the globe is a lie. But I do know that sea level and navigation need a flat surface to work on. But let's not go there first. Let's first debunk the globe, because I know I can do that in less than 2 or 3 arguments. Well, what is it then? Okay, I want you at that point where you know you've been lied to, and then you could do your research like I've been doing it.
Speaking of which, any evidence of elevation angle measurement acquisition from a curved baseline?
Impossible.
In order to measure with reference to sea level and navigate with angles to stars, Earth must be flat.
Indeed. You need a baseline.
Is there any evidence of Earth curvature whatsoever?
Hold on. The baseline must be flat. It doesn't mean the Earth has to be flat.
You're navigating on the
Get
baseline.
measurements from the
You're
center of the
navigating
Earth.
the baseline to the ground position of the star is where you're measuring, so that you can establish a distance. Well, those distances have to necessitate the ground being flat if you're going to reference it to move along it. You're navigating the ground with ground positions. So you say, well, the baseline's just a baseline. Nothing to do with the ground. What, the ground position meeting the baseline? It's absolutely everything to do with the ground. You're establishing ground positions.
Right, just the
Yeah.
point on the ground. But you could use
So the
center of the Earth
ground-
measurement
So
to
the
figure
ground
it
then,
out.
let's just not whistle past your assertion that it's just the baseline. Yeah, the baseline with respect to the ground that you're navigating and the ground positions on it. You understand that now? It has everything to do with the ground, which must be flat.
No, you're not paying attention to me.
I know what he's trying to say. Let me put a slide. It's coming over right now. Tell me when you have it.
Yeah, I've got the globe burger, if that's what you're wanting me to put up.
No, just
Oh, the elevation angles
It's the
measurement to a sun
y-
altitude and
Yep.
zenith distance. Go ahead.
yeah. All right. So see that sun there? If you do a line directly down from that sun, that would be the sun's zenith over the earth, and that would give the ground position of the sun. It's just not shown here, but you have to have it. All right. That's why you rock the sextant, so you can get the vertical position of the sun over the horizon. So you're establishing with the elevation angle the sun's zenith, okay, which leaves you the co-altitude, which is the zenith distance. As you see, if you knew your zenith with the dotted line over where the box is, the 90 box. Okay, so if you hang a plumb bob, if you're on the shore, you don't need the elevation angle because you can establish your zenith and just get the co-altitude, which is the zenith distance, okay, to that sun in the sky. Okay. But because you're on a boat and you use a sextant, you can't do that because you can't hold the plumb bob steady on the boat, obvious. So you get the sun's zenith over the horizon, and that gives you a right angle triangle. And then you can subtract that from 90. And the difference would be your zenith angle. And that equals the zenith distance, the GP of the observer to the GP of the sun on ground level, on a baseline, on a horizontal. That's why it says that the sextant is calibered in the sense that your eyes are on the water. So that's why you subtract height of eye to get your eyeball on the water so you can have that 90. They also do what Neil is talking about. They also say that it matches excuse me, the rational horizon, which is the equatorial plane.
Okay,
Big deal. They just made up a globe
Well, 10th clears that
and
frog
put an
out of his throat.
equatorial plane.
Sorry, just clear your throat and I'll just share this. So we're going to be doing a bit of a complimentary video today. So in this case, with the utmost sincerity, please go and let this person know that at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me because we responded to their video. Hopefully, do they allow comments? Done this before and then they can't actually allow. Comments are turned off. Scratch that. Go to this person's video, give them a like, even though they've turned off all comments and likes, that's fine. Just give them a like so that it obviously assists them in the algorithm. Anyway, right. This video is called Using an Astrolabe, and it's by Aaron Powner. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. Anyway, 10th, did you want to continue?
Yeah, just wrapping it up here. Sorry about my throat there. But what Neil is saying is that because they put that dingleberry globe always to fool us, they need a flat surface. So they go to the equatorial plane. But when you're in reality, you're on the sea, that is this very same thing. There is only a plane without the arc of the sextant making the half of the globe.
Right, that's the main conclusion.
I mean,
so I'll just reiterate that on your behalf. So what's on screen now, thank you, 10th, is the exact same thing as just shown. So you've got you with your zenith position above you, and then the sun with its zenith position at 90 degrees along the baseline, and that position at 90 below the sun is called its GP, ground position. Okay, so that's the same. This is the surface that you'll be navigating. This is the surface that you're measuring and getting angles from. Now let's move to the globe burger, where you have a celestial sphere with this surface, which is shown highlighted in grey because it's going to be your measurement to this star, and then presumably you're turning the sextant on its side. Fine. But that's still a flat plane, and the angle coming from this star, we'll say it's the sun by equivalence, goes to the centre because it's a flat plane encompassing the entire distance out to the celestial equator. Celestial horizon, if you want to call it that. That's a flat plane surrounding you, with the celestial sphere being the extremity. So the angle for this star meets the baseline and then comes along to your position where you're measuring it, which in this example is at the center of a sphere that is surplus to requirements in this example. Why is it surplus to requirements? Because you're not standing at the center of a sphere. And the plane that you're measuring in terms of where the GP, ground position is, isn't on the sphere anymore. This is where the ground position is. Let's just draw the other diagram out for you. Here it is on the ground. Here's the baseline. Here's the 90-degree GP position of the sun. On this diagram, well, where's the GP? Ground position of this star. Oh, well, it's nowhere near the globe Earth. It's on a flat plane. Because Earth's a flat plane. That's how this is done. This bit, you're not standing in the molten iron core to get this. And the flat plane that's emanating out from the molten iron core is not where you're going to plot the positions of the stars when you're navigating, or the sun, or the moon, or anything else that you use as a celestial body to navigate with. It's all done on a flat plane. This bit's surplus to requirements. This bit puts you in the centre of a sphere Earth, with the plane emanating out from it. This bit has the ground position miles away out in space and not on a globe Earth, because we're not on a globe Earth. We are on this flat plane. That's how this works. Thank you, Tenth. Did you want to add anything to that before we move over to your video, which is going to be an educational video from our perspective?
No, go ahead and start because we'll have a lot to follow up.
Okay, so let this person,
morning,
you
guys.
can't let them know. Give this person a like, just pop over to their video just so it adds an extra view to the 76,000 it's had already in the last 10 years.
The plane astrolabe may have been invented in Alexandria of Egypt as early as the 2nd century BC. It was successfully disseminated in the medieval Muslim world and, via Muslim Spain, penetrated into Europe in the 10th century.
Sorry, what did? Measuring angles?
The astrolabe parts are fitted onto a central axis. The body of the instrument is called the mater, a thick plate with a graduated limb and a ring from which it can be suspended. Inserted into a mater is the tympanum, or latitude plate, which carries the projections of the observer's altizimuth coordinates.
That's a flat Earth he's got on screen for you right there, ladies and gentlemen. The latitude coordinate system in that respect is measured on a flat plane from angles to the stars with a perspective view over a flat plane. Polaris in this example would be at the centre. So you, at your zenith, if you lay on your back with your eyeballs towards the sky, would have Polaris above you. As you move away from Polaris, the angle it has towards the horizon drops. That's what marks out that grid. On a flat plane, it can only work. That's why all the charts and maps are flat. Because that's how this works. What's that you say? It works that way on a globe? No, it doesn't. You can't get an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline. The angle to Polaris won't drop over a curve. It's not an angle.
With the main vertical
Nah,
circles.
Nathan, pause. All right, so guess who used the astrolabe in the stories we hear?
Biruni.
Biruni. And look at how it's described of how it needs to work. It needs a horizontal baseline. It needs a plane.
It does.
Because it's an angle.
Good morning,
So
guys.
the dip. Good morning.
Go on,
So the
go on
dip correction-
10th and then chocolate. Go ahead, 10th.
So the dip correction that he did from the top of the mountain, as John Refracted Curvature has so eloquently always told us, is the differential between two horizontals.
Go on, chocolate.
No, I was just saying good morning.
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 You.
And
And
you know
the
what
main
else he
altitude
used?
parameter.
Go on, guys. I'm going to
I'm
start
sorry?
the video. Otherwise, what? Go on, 10th.
Yeah. Well, you know what else he used the astrolabe for was to measure the height of the mountain, which he needed a baseline as well.
Yeah, it's referenced sea level. How high it is off the sea level. Not how high it is off a curve, because that'll never give you the angle. Because it isn't an angle. So he needs a flat Earth to measure the height. He's giving you a differential between two flat planes when he uses the astrolabe to measure the dip to the horizon from the top of the mountain. What dip to what? Well, from the eye level that you can establish. I think they call that sensible horizon. Something like that. Versus the baseline you establish when you measure the height of the mountain. That's sea level. So the difference between eye level and sea level. That's what he's calculating with his astrolabe at the top of the mountain. Okay, what does he extrapolate that into? Well, the baseline that he measured to give you that difference would be curved, obviously. No. Then the maths stops working. It becomes stupid. Because you've got the difference between the two planes that you measured. Now you're saying that the first plane's bent? Well, it wouldn't be a plane to give you the height anymore. That's stupid. Oh no, that's the basis of the globe Earth's religion for their mass for Earth curve.
Parallels. The rete is a disk showing the sun's annual path and the positions of selected bright stars. With an alidade, or straight rule with sights, placed on the back of the astrolabe, the observer aims at one of those stars to measure its altitude.
Flat Earth required. This would be a horizontal baseline. This would be an angle. That is 2 straight lines. Notice he's not measuring it from respect to a curved line falling away from him. You can't, because that's not an angle. That is why the necessity to put Earth as a ball in the middle of a flat plane with GP positions that aren't on the ball anymore, that's why that is the case. Because we are not on a ball, we are measuring angles to stars with respect to the flat plane and the ground position of the stars. Not the ball position falling away from you, the angle on the baseline to the flat plane ground position of the star below it, as depicted here on the celestial sphere. And flat plane with surplus to requirements globe at the centre. Back to the video. This is what is actually being done when you measure angles. This is a flat Earth.
Rete is then rotated until the star indicator overlaps the altitude parallel, corresponding to the measurement. On a 24-hour scale, the time of night is given by the angle between the position of the sun on the observation day.
Flat Earth required. Back to your angle measurement of the sun. Okay, let's bring up the diagram with globe included yet again. Yeah, the angle to the sun would be its angle with respect to the flat plane if you're taking its ground position. Well, that's got nothing to do with the globe because it's surplus to requirements if you're taking angles to things. Can't get angles from curved surfaces. Oh, what do you know? Well, when you depict the celestial sphere, it's got a globe in it, but it's not actually being utilised in any way, shape or form. In fact, it's right in the way of where you'd measure this angle. Because according to this diagram, you'd have to be in the middle of a multi-line core to be getting this angle. And would it be projecting out onto the globe surface? No, it's projected out onto this flat plane for the ground position. Just make that clear. Every time we talk about angles in this depiction, we're going to point out that a flat Earth is required to do that. 77 people watching. Please share the show. Got up to 122 people yesterday. Be good to beat that. See if we can get to 125 today.
Recorded with a marker and a fixed direction. If instead the day and hour are known, one can predict the star's altitude. And also, for any given day, one can determine the time of a heavenly body's rising, culmination, and setting.
That's it. That's the entirety of the video. Wow, that was short.
Yeah, I told you it was short and sweet, right? So let's look at some astrolabes. I'm going to start posting some here for you.
Okay. Other people posting stuff. Well, while we're looking at that, we'll bring up Alberuni's measurement of the mountain height off a flat plane. Of course, he's going to go up this mountain and then measure the difference between the level plane at D versus eye level at the top of H, and then claim that the line used in D is now bending. Isn't that absurd? There we go. That's how you get your R value. What do you want? You've got a silly religion. Still got nothing, by the way.
All right, it should be coming your way now.
Okay.
Soon.
I will say that the idea of rising and setting celestial bodies is in the celestial sphere model is where they get those concepts. So you need a flat Earth for that.
Yeah, when he said elevation, he means angle with respect to the horizon. That's what he's talking about, elevation. Not the height above the deck, but its angle with respect to its ground position, where you measure it along a flat baseline. Flat Earth absolutely required. Okay, 10th, got him up.
All right, first one is Alberini's measurement of the elevation to the mountaintop. Do you see that?
Yeah, I got that up now.
Okay, so he used an astrolabe here to get the angle. He needed a flat baseline. Next slide is going to be the Mariner's astrolabe, which is angle measurements to celestial bodies. And it's a very heavy object, and you got to hold it from the ring so it can be like a plumb bob, but very difficult to use. But when they take it to shore and they're on solid ground, it works fantastic. This is why this was replaced by the sextant, because it's very difficult in heavy seas. All right, so you see all that. Next one is showing you how it's used, the Mariner's astrolabe, with a star above the horizon, elevation angle above the horizon. That's your 90, the horizontal. And all the almanacs all say if your eyeball is on the water, then no dip or height correction is necessary because you got your 90. So basically, we already know that's just the differential between where your eye is on top of the boat to the surface of the water. That has to be one horizontal, one baseline. So that's how you get your 90. Can't get a 90 on a curved surface. The next one is the
Before you do,
planispheric
wait, one sec.
astrolabe.
One sec. I just want people to share. So I've just knocked over 80 people watching, which is wonderful. 23 minutes into the show. Right, we pointed out how gravity isn't a necessity for flat earthers to argue, and now we're on to proving Earth's flat. You know, this is the cutting edge of this subject. I'm not suggesting that you do it for my YouTube benefit. This is what people want. Neil told me in the pre-show. He wants a documentary on flat Earth so that people understand how Earth's flat in a concise manner. We've only got 23 minutes under our belt, and we've debunked heliocentrism in all shapes, and now we're describing how Earth is measured flat. Please share the show. Go ahead, Tent.
So the planispheric astrolabe, I would assume this works much like the planispheres that we can buy. It's star locations in the sky, much like right ascension and declination in the equatorial mount. Then we go to the quadrant astrolabe, just using a portion of it. And there's videos on these. They're fantastic to watch. Again, all angle measuring devices. Then the universal astrolabe, instead of changing discs on the other astrolabes for latitude, the universal is just one disc for all latitudes. All right, that's pretty interesting. That says a lot right there, doesn't it? All right. Exploration of the planispheric astrolabe, so you see all the different ones. Just a little redundancy there. And then components of the planispheric astrolabe. So what's the purpose of looking at these things? Because they are all angle measuring device. I'm going to set up some more slides. I'll be right back.
Yeah, please share the show. If Neil gets what he wants, it'll be us doing a documentary style explanation of how Earth is measured and navigated flat daily. Now, I'm not saying that's not what we do anyway, but it's nice to reiterate that. Also, this is a very secret club. Shh, don't tell anyone.
Well, it's interesting because I've been looking into orbital mechanics just a little bit, and they're all the whole idea of it is built within the celestial sphere as well, which needs a flat Earth. So when we say orbits is a begging the question fallacy, it is. But what's it begging the question of? A sphere or a celestial sphere?
Yeah, that's how that's going to be interesting to unpack, because like with the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator, when I phrase it in that way, that's gonna need changing, right? Because what are you begging the question of? Yes, it's in the maths, the extrapolation of the two flat planes, giving you a below surface level horizon. Okay, but it's below surface level. It's telling you right there in the maths. So how is that begging the question when you're extrapolating out a nonsensical concept? You can't be begging the question of something that doesn't make sense, can you?
Didn't we call it begging the question because of literally the name of it?
The title.
Curve
I'm glad you're
calculator.
here. No, done. Yeah, don't need to worry about it. It's in the title. It's Earth curve calculator.
sir.
You can't get much better begging the question example. Yeah, you're right, Chocolate. We should not forget. It's titled that. Okay, yeah, fine.
It's just an intuitive way of explaining how we see the world, guys. Don't get all worked up about it.
Don't trick
All
him,
right,
Adrian.
got
He's
those
only just
slides
got
up.
here. I had a time. Who is it that was asking me earlier about? We trimmed out a little video off the back of me having a disposable interest in the dating scene currently. I was asked, well, what do you think of the dating scene? I'm like, I don't know. I haven't got a clue. Beyond echoing the sentiments of the people who talk about it. But what I will say is I asked Adam a question about this via Skype last night, which he did respond to. And it's the only thing that I could glean from it. I don't know how close to the bone it'll be on YouTube's algorithmic scale, but we'll see how we can keep it. Adam's reasonably trustworthy in that regard. I'm sure he'll preface some of his words. Adam, are you there?
I am, yeah.
Listen, I can't remember who is it that asked me earlier. Somebody was asking me what my opinion is on the dating scene. Now, my answer, I'm glad you're here to back it up, was more in regards to the general overview of what's going on with the general population of the world, which is to say that the net result of some of these things result in less people being produced. I don't know if you want to maybe bolster that a little bit, Adam.
Well, there's a few bits, isn't there, really? So it related a little bit to that phrase incel. The way in which society is now structured is, in of itself, less conducive to having accidental pregnancies or relationships even forming. So societal pressures are built in such a way that certain men now are classed as incels and they would actually sooner hide and the likes. And then we've got the opposite of Nathan, as Nathan described last week. And that again, is just as big a win for population control because he doesn't want to have children. He's going to keep them covered up. He'll keep these women engaged until they're past the point of childbirth where they would have. So there's large ways in which society is working that doesn't require depopulation. We're depopulating ourselves by our own activities. You can then look, and this isn't. But there are things associated with the medical procedures that have gone off that people are still looking at and data will prove, but there's been a number of reports that indicate that fertility rates are lowering in those that have been receiving that treatment. And there was a study, really, this is the one that I find interesting, got nothing to do with current treatments or anything, but maybe more to do with the estrogenic levels in water and BPAs and things like that. If you look at male sperm counts, on average, they're around about 50% lower than they were years ago. And that, to me, is the significant slow drip one if you're going to look at these things.
Perfect.
Population.
Exactly. So while to answer a question in terms of what I think about the dating scene, it has no interest to me to even consider. But the wider reaching implications of the overall themes I get from looking at that particular part of YouTube tells me that people are getting together less. The standards that women have are much, much higher than perhaps they were when I was dating and before I got married. But I can only then extrapolate out what the consequences of that are, as opposed to what it might be like for a guy on the dating market at the moment or a girl on the because I don't care. No offense to you if you're on the dating market and you're struggling. My advice is lower your standards a little bit. There you go. And you'll be all right.
So now we just need a transition from the dating scene back to navigation, astrolabe, right angles, and instruments.
As you're navigating your way along the dating market, you might find it of interest to know that a flat baseline is required on the flat earth that you'll be dating these people on.
All right, I got those.
Any port will do, really. Stop being so fussy.
Any what?
I got those slides
Any
up.
port.
Okay, slides. Yes, they're up.
Okay, so black and white, elevation angle, zenith sun, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically this is what has to be achieved. Go to the next slide. You'll see cross staff and the back staff. This is what they used to use before the modern day Mariner sextant. What do these instruments do? Well, they measure angles. All right. Well, it's the next one, the Kamal and the Astrolabe. Well, we've just gone through the Astrolabe. What's the Kamal? Well, this is a piece of wood with a rope tied with knots, and they would hold it in their mouth and they would move it above the horizon and figure out where they were. They'd hold a knot and say, okay, no matter what, when we see that North Star, make sure this is the same thing and we'll be on the same latitude. Another angle measuring device. Okay. Then as we evolve the instrumentation, we get to the octant
1 second.
and sextant.
Sorry. Shout out to Godzilla37. It says women's standards were lower when I got married. Nathan Oakley 2023. You bastard. Thank you for the super chat.
I just can't believe I am getting all this while I'm doing a very serious presentation. This is amazing. Anyway, octant and the sextant. I guess maybe the dating angle does fit here. Maybe. I don't know. Okay. So octant and sextant, you see we've gone through this instrumentation, and you see the navigator on the bottom right. He's going to be rocking that thing to get the zenith position of the sun in order to get the co-altitude so he can know the zenith distance. That's GP to GP. You know what that means, right? The place the sun, if you go to the next slide, or in this case, a star, is where it's at over the Earth directly at a 90, and then where you are over the Earth directly at a 90, creates that box. You have 4 90s there. This is ridiculous. These tools cannot work on the globe surface. They even show it in this slide. And they put 90 and then they try to bend that yellow line as, oh, yeah, the Earth is curving. And these instruments work on a curve, from a curve. No, these instruments cannot work without a baseline that's horizontal. It needs a right angle. It needs 90 degrees. Okay. And then the last slide, one of my favorites of all time, from a navigation site on YouTube, who believes in spinning ball through space, heliocentric model, that we live on the globe. And then he puts this picture up, not flat earth debate. He put this picture up and says, this is how it works. And this shows you how it cannot work from a curved surface. I'm done.
For some reason, that one's really tiny, but I'm sure the audience can see. Excellent
I'll
stuff.
send you a new one.
That's fine. That's fine. It's done now. 94 people watching. Excellent stuff. Big shout out to all of you. Smash the share button. That's the only reason we're edging up to 100 people watching, because you've shared the show. No way this is reaching random Joe without you sharing it to him. So thank you very much. Really appreciate all the people who smashed the share button. If you've just joined us, please share the show. Smash the share button. That's the only reason you've got here, because you've followed the link that someone shared to you. So please reciprocate. Do the same. Smash the share button. Stick it on Facebook. Stick it on Twitter. Thank you for doing so in advance.
That means everybody here should hit the share button. I did.
Just hit 100 people watching. Excellent. Right. Did we want to do another reaction video, 10th? Have you got something else lined up?
I could, yeah, I have something, but I just wanted to get dialogue on this because obviously you need to summarize again what the Black Swan did and what angle measurements to stars do.
Okay, the Black Swan asserts the Earth's geometry as a sphere as a positive assertion. So it's a modus tollens argument. If Earth was a sphere radius 3959, that's the assertion that the globers make. Well, the consequences of that in geometric terms are that every distance measurement to the horizon has to be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, because that's the straight line tangent point horizon in the Earth curve maths that they assert the horizon is. Earth curve. Well, the distance to the horizon measured in the Black Swan image via the distance to the oil rigs, giving us demarcation points for distance that the horizon is beyond, shows that the distance to horizon is beyond the assertion in the Earth curve maths at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Therefore, the Earth is not a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles. Now, the rebuttal to the Black Swan from our beloved opponents on the anti-flat Earth side is to say that the line to the horizon is bent. That would be to say it is refracted. At which point, you no longer have a geometric tangent point horizon. You no longer have any angles capable of measuring ever to anything, because all lines to everything are always bent through the sphere-shaped air of atmosphere. oxymoron. Air doesn't take the shape of a sphere, it takes the shape of its container. But in this sphere-shaped air that they assume, you never have a straight line to anything. So while the last 25 minutes has been spent discussing how we will take angles and how Al-Biruni in this example on screen now took a straight line to a tangent point to give you the radius of a sphere Earth after assuming that the ground bent between B and C was formally straight to give you the differential between a flat plane and eye level at the top of a mountain he measured off a flat plane. Now that requires a straight line tangent, not a refracted one. The geometry requires these principles hold true for you to assert the Earth curve at C is a tangent point. Once you bend that line, you don't have your geometry. You can't make your globe Earth horizon assertion anymore. So in essence, the assertion, geometric in nature, that Earth has a sphere Earth horizon was debunked on the 1st of January 2020. That's why this image on screen now has been rolling by ever since. Al-Biruni versus the Black Swan. How's that geometric horizon working out for you, Rufy? You might not be familiar with who Rufif is. He's one of our opponents that's asserting that you can do dip angle corrections to the horizon on a sphere, when for the last 3 straight years we've been told no, the line to the Earth curve is bent. All right, well, how are you going to correct for dip when that's a straight line angle correction? You can't. All of your geometry fails. In all instances, the moment you bend these lines that are required in your globe geometry. The death of the globe occurred on the 1st of January, 2020. Black Swan.
Yeah, but it could be a sphere bigger than 3959, maybe. Maybe that's the case.
No, because then the angle measurements to Polaris for the latitude lines on the grid wouldn't work. So all of the back engineering that gives us our navigation processes and our building processes would all fail if we didn't have it back calculable to Polaris on that latitude grid. Like I said earlier in the show, that's why the charts and maps are flat, so that they work with that grid, measured off a flat plane with the differential calculation exploited with Al-Biruni's measurement of R, to then have a sine formula convert these angle measurements into a sphere, to have it put inside the celestial sphere off a flat plane, to claim that you're at the molten iron core when you're taking the angles to the stars that you're measuring on a grid, with reference to a flat plane, with a redundant, or moreover, surplus to requirements, globe in the middle of it. Shout out to James Richard, who said, if everybody believes they're in the world they're not in, the manifestation into reality would be lies, deception, and fraud everywhere. Sound familiar? No, it doesn't sound familiar. What's he talking about? Anybody follow that? Shall I read that again? If everybody believes they're in a world that they're not in, the manifestation into reality would be lies and deception and fraud everywhere. Sound familiar?
Yeah. He's saying that if everyone caught on that they're lying about this, then they would just be freaking out because everything in the world might be a lie and they'll just freak out.
Yeah, like unplugging everyone all at once from the Matrix. Most people aren't ready to be unplugged. That's why earlier when...
Speaking of...
Go on.
Yeah, speaking of being plugged, I've got the video up there. It's a current video. It's a public meeting on unidentified anomalous phenomena, formerly known as UFOs, now UAPs. Official NASA broadcast. I give you the minute mark of this one guy just talking, and we are going to have fun with his little fairy tale.
Before you do that, so what you're saying, Nathan, to my question is not going to work?
Go on, Neil.
Sorry, I was just asking. My question was it could be a sphere bigger, but you're saying basically that nothing would work.
No, you wouldn't, because the grid system would no longer match. So the longitude and latitude lines are always going to be back calculable. And if you take that measurement to the equator, you can match it to a 3959 radius sphere if you wrap that grid around a ball. But the moment you say, well, no, it's not wrapped around a ball of that size, well, then the grid doesn't match up anymore. So it becomes useless. It has to match with the stars. That's where they've got it from. They've wrapped that grid that they measured off the flat plane around the ball. So if you try and unwrap it or make it bigger, it stops working. Not that it worked to begin with. You can't get elevation angle measurements off a curved surface. So to assert that the map needs wrapping around a sphere is absurd. Okay.
Yeah, I was about to say too, in the Earth curve calculator, if you really think that you're looking at a place where the sea meets the sky below the sea, you're out of your mind.
All right, push play.
Thanks, Neil.
Discover such an anomaly, we don't conclude that we've discovered life. We seek more data to understand what we're seeing, and often this leads to other new discoveries. Similarly, we can talk about looking for technosignatures.
Am I at the right point, 10th? 133.50. I'm at 134. That didn't sound relevant to us.
I think, no, it was 2. You kind of started.
Sorry,
again without the-
234 I'm on.
No, you need to be at 233.
Yeah, that's what we've just played.
Okay, well, did you see him go on
Observations
stage?
we can make which might reveal the presence of technological activity somewhere else. NASA is also supporting some research studying technosignatures. While there is at present no evidence we're aware of suggesting an extraterrestrial source for UAPs, these existing NASA programs.
What's a UAP?
It's the new
Unidentified
word for
aerial
UFO.
phenomenon.
Yeah, it's the new word for
Unidentified-
UFO.
Hold on, I had two people. Did you say unidentified aerial phenomenon? UAP.
Yes.
Okay.
On the
Programs are
video, on the video, it's anomalous. So they changed the aerial to anomalous, UAP. They changed it. It was our old UFO that got a new facelift.
UAP
Oh, I
is
see.
the UAP is the new UFO, correct?
That's what I
Yeah,
said.
That's what I think
it's
it
the new
is.
hotness.
relevant to the question of UAPs in at least two ways. Is it a known or unknown natural phenomena? Must it be technological? Is it known terrestrial technology? So these scientific communities have relevant experience in determining.
Hold on, why would they be scientific communities? If they're asking whether or not it's a phenomena, they can barely adhere to the first step of the scientific method, but you're calling them scientific communities. We might have a phenomena here. Well, you might have step one of the scientific method. Well, yeah. Oh, definitely science. Ugh, God, the arrogance.
Okay, it's time for a summary. In my opinion, what they are doing with all the other stuff that the rest of the panel knows that they're doing is they're greasing the skids for an alien encounter. So this is a 4-hour video. This is just one guy. I'm not even going to watch the rest. This guy says it all for me. They're trying to figure out what these unidentified aerial or anomalous things are. And then they're going to do a just so story around it that matches the heliocentric model. And whether it's terrestrial or it could have been further away with exoplanets. And I mean, you can't believe what this guy starts saying just in the 7 minutes we're going to hear him. But they're greasing the skids.
Interestingly enough, it would have to be a terrestrial phenomenon, even within their paradigm or terrestrial technology, because the Fermi paradox has shown that we don't see life out there.
And communicating about whether observations which first appear to reveal extraordinary evidence actually justify making extraordinary claims. Second, if we do acknowledge an extraterrestrial source, however unlikely, as one possibility for UAPs, then these objects must have traveled through the solar system to get here.
Through what Kepler's ideas of a solar system in a sky vacuum with Earth being heliocentric? I'm going to go with no. See, a lot of that depends on us having a sky vacuum for us to assume that the area known as quote-unquote space is an area that could potentially be occupied because it's a vast area with distant light years of planets and some being inhabitable zones that you claim. All of that is based on flat Earth measurements.
Yeah, but Nathan, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Arwin. It's
thought
not
you
like every
finished,
day
but-
you interrupt in the middle of a sentence and then tell me you think I was done. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say he said if. So he made an if statement. If it's extraterrestrials, well then that if statement already presupposes heliocentrism, because that form of alien interpretation is part of heliocentrism. So it's kind of like you can't complain about that proposal being heliocentric when that's the antecedent for it. Right? If you're going to claim there's aliens from other planets, well, then all of that would have to exist.
In fantasy
Anyways.
world, but they're not. This isn't a script. This isn't a script writing convention, though, is it? This is disseminating it to the world as though it's real. Just one sec, Adam. Shout out to James Richard again. It says UFOs/aliens are just an example of the lies, deception, and fraud my previous statement was referring to, or my previous super chat was referring to. Yeah, we got that. Thank you for the super chats. Really appreciate it, James Richard. Go ahead, Adam.
Just following on from what Owen said, I agree, Owen. It's kind of setting up a logic for you to agree with that if we do see ships, UAPs as they're now described, then the logical consequence means that the heliocentric model is correct. Where those ships come from has to be other planets set within the heliocentric model. That's what the logic I heard that is applying to the audience. So when you do see that, it will confirm this. This means this. It's
yes, much better way of putting it. Now, by comparison, okay, the UFOs that we see have flown through the wardrobe door. I know it was not one of the options on his list. Could be man-made, could be a natural phenomena, could be UFOs from the heliocentric model. So if we assume that they're UFOs from the heliocentric model, that's his position. Okay, if we assume that they are flying bats from Narnia come through the wardrobe, then that's what he's doing.
Yep.
Nathan, how can you deny Narnia at that point? Because you have flying bats from Narnia right there in your face.
Right, you've only got to put your telescope at them. Flying bats from Narnia. They're right before our eyes, John. You're right. How can I deny it? I can see the bloody bats from Narnia through my telescope myself. Proof positive. They've come from Narnia.
No, but if it's bats from Narnia, right? If it would be bats from Narnia, then we can assume that Narnia exists. See?
Then we can assume the wardrobe, the technology we lost a long time ago, and it'll be very difficult to build back up. But obviously there's a door to Narnia somewhere.
The scientific community, there's a widespread, but by no means universal belief that there are extraterrestrial civilizations.
That's because we found them in the past. History shows that we found extraterrestrials. Nathan said we found aliens! No. What we used to have on the maps was space, out towards the horizon. People would go and investigate space. And you know what they'd find in space? Out towards the horizon. The new worlds. And once they were found, they put them on the maps as new worlds. Now, third worlds. I mean, developing countries. I mean, economically inviable countries. Or whatever they want to label them that doesn't imply that they're new worlds as they were formerly labelled after being found in space. Now, what do they call people who come from new worlds to your country? Anybody from the panel? What's the term?
Alien.
Aliens. So suddenly you've got a load of black people in your predominantly white country. Oh, right. Well, have they come from the new worlds? These aliens? When they were discovered in space? Yeah, that's what's happened. History can show it. It's really easy to demonstrate. Other than the fact that the new maps don't have the worlds named that way anymore. They're now called continents. So we don't have new worlds being discovered in space. What's space now? Oh, well, it's above our heads. The little twinkly lights are the new worlds, and you can walk on them. Meaning you will never, ever, ever find any new worlds ever if you travel in that direction to find them. Not along the ground. Where do you think I'll find more ground? Probably where the ground is, parallel with where you are now. Nah, I reckon that empty void above my head's where the ground is. Because I'm stupid and I've got a heliocentric religion, with us flying around the sun. Therefore, those twinkly lights are ground I can walk on. Yeah, no. Like they're not Narnia bats. They're not space aliens. But aliens and new worlds and space, yeah, that's where we'll find them if we were to investigate. But of course we can't, can we? Because we just come back on ourselves. On a sphere, wouldn't we? So there's no point in even trying, really. What with us being on a sphere and all. No new worlds to find, and if you want to look, they're in the sky. Just so you all know your place.
Nathan, I put 2 images, stills from this video that will give the audience a bigger scope of what's happening here. So one is the first page, the title, so we get that right. And the second pick is the NASA logo. And look at the speakers there. They're all probably speaking. I just went to this one guy. It's over 4 hours long. These people are serious about saying, look, we know something about outer space, violation of second law of thermodynamics. And they are just setting the stage to create this so-called alien visitation, which obviously, in my mind, is extra dimensional, not alien.
Let us know from the chat if you're enjoying us pulling apart this rhetoric about outer space and aliens.
And we have a well-developed rationale. There's a lot of literature for discussing this, which I won't go into now in the interest of brevity, but it has to do with the vast numbers of exoplanets and the timescales of evolution and the possibility of convergent evolution on different planets leading to...
So everything heliocentric then? So everything religious? So we've got a lot to discuss based on our religion of a sky vacuum and exoplanets in it, with orbital motions all derived from flat plane measurements. All right, you've got a lot to discuss, have you? And do away with the going out towards the horizon to explore the space that might have new worlds and wrap ourselves up in religion and philosophy. I see. Yeah, you have got a lot to discuss. Why are you discussing it with us, though? You nutters should be discussing this in your own little world away from us, not sharing it with the rest of the world so that they are under the impression that there's a place called Narnia with worlds called exoplanets. Because there isn't. The distances that you said that you would be discussing in that presumed religion would also necessitate our values and light distances that have been debunked by quantum mechanics. So I don't know what kind of science you think you're doing, because the distances in your religious belief that you'll be discussing have all been debunked. The speed of light gives you your distances to these exoplanets, doesn't it? Godzilla37 says, yes, I'm enjoying this. Oh, thank you very much for the super chat. 100 people watching. Let's see if we can get the numbers up a bit. Please share the show if you've not done so already.
Yeah, but this way they get to weave 2 stories together, right? Because you obviously have the heliocentric nonsense, but then listen to how he mentioned evolution, right? Now, there are a lot of people who think that quote unquote aliens are the next evolutionary step beyond us. So it's just another way to have their stories and eat it too. If you know what I mean.
If there's any kind of evolution to be had, it's interracial breeding, because that's where you see differences. White guy gets with white woman, white child gets produced. White guy gets with black guy, mixed coloured child gets produced. There you go. There's your alien breeding. It's already in existence. It's already happening. The worlds have mingled and people interbreed. There you go. If you want to evolve, that's what you get. Does it actually evolve anything? No, not really.
That'd be like saying a guy with green eyes and a girl with brown eyes get together and make a brown-eyed kid as an alien.
Yep. That's exactly the same standard. Might as well say that. Because what are you talking about? We're talking about humans, people. Yeah? But in the same way, we can arbitrarily subcategorize them like we do with dogs when we mix their breeds. Breeds? What's that? Oh, it's another arbitrary description. Anyway, we're going off the rails a little bit here.
Alien isn't even differential of race. It's differential of origin originally. So have white illegal aliens into a white country. It's not it's not a distinction of genomes, is it, per se? It's a distinction of locality, which makes you an alien.
Right.
As we said, like an illegal alien. It's nothing to do with them being any race per se. It's that you're not from the country of origin that makes you the alien.
Indeed. So if somebody who has decided that they wanted to start a business producing Chinese takeaway food here in England, and they'd previously been doing it in Scotland because that's where they were born and raised, then the chances are that that person, obviously we've got to assume in this example that they are indeed Chinese, are going to have a Scottish accent because they were born and raised and dealing in Scotland up until the point that they moved. Well, at that point, get out of my country, you Scottish scum. Not get out of my country, you Chinese scum. See the difference? Very subtle.
Yep, you can be a dick without upsetting the woke brigade.
Somewhat similar outcomes. It's a fascinating subject, but the relevant point here is that the same rationale which supports the idea that extraterrestrial civilization.
Why are you stuttering? Nothing
Because
supports
he
this
used the
idea.
word
That's why he's stuttering.
rationale.
Very telling.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Chocolate.
No, that was me. He used the word rationale when he's got no rationale to even put towards the subject. That was funny to me.
The rationale is a heliocentric religion.
Civilizations may exist and
May? No, they won't. Not out in the stars, not on exoplanets, not on lights in the sky. If all examples pointed towards finding new worlds out towards the horizon, why would you assume that it's likely to find exoplanets, actually lights in the sky, when you travel into an area of nothingness that has no land? It's absurd. That's why he's stuttering.
and may be detectable.
Go on.
He's also stuttering because he's working within the Fermi paradox at the moment, and he knows that even within his paradigm, he's in contradiction.
No, hang on. Don't give him that much credit. He's also could be stuttering because he's not a good public speaker and he's nervous.
Or he picked up the wrong prescription glasses.
Also supports the idea that finding extraterrestrial artifacts in our own solar system is at
Solar system. So he's detailing the fact that this is based within a religion.
least plausible.
No, it's not plausible. It's based within a religion. And the model has been derived from flat Earth. So to assert that there is exoplanets when you move around the sun is to say that the flat Earth extrapolation that we move around the sun, at which point it becomes totally absurd. You know, it's not likely. It's completely absurd.
NASA
What
is the lead.
exoplanets?
There aren't any.
The blob that even the exoplanet astrophysicist said that's not accurate. even her, somebody that studies this shit supposedly. So what exoplanets is this guy talking about? People are nuts.
Lead agency for solar system exploration.
You can't explore the solar system. The assertion is that we move around the sun. You can't explore it beyond the model making. It's just a model. A sun-centric model.
It already has an active program of detecting objects in our solar neighborhood using
You see, you're mixing up your words. No, people looking through telescopes isn't people looking for stuff in our solar neighbourhood, because that assumes that we're sun-centric, moving around it in an orbital motion that's all been derived from flat Earth measurements. So it's contradictory on its face. So then say, based on this contradiction that we've extrapolated out from flat Earth measurements, we can suggest that there might be worlds to be found out in the sky. No, it's utterly ludicrous.
using both ground-based and space-based facilities.
Space? Which one? Out towards the horizon where you formerly found new worlds, or after a certain cut-off point where you decided to point to the sky and say that's where the land would be?
And it
Is
could
there
leverage
any
the
way?
Go on, Neil.
Is there any way, besides them looking at telescopes, that they can prove that these are land and not just lights like we see?
No.
Yeah, it's reversed. He's supporting his statement. It's a bit Narnia, isn't it? He's kind of saying, if I ever went out and saw a centaur, that would be evidence that everything is correct. And the only explanation is that that centaur's come through what I supposed was the wardrobe from Narnia. But it's not to say there is any evidence of that. But if he was to get that, i.e. there was an exoplanet, there was an alien spacecraft, that would then prove his heliocentric model. This seems to be the logic he's implying. Anything.
Sounds like an appeal to the future.
Yes, it is.
Appeal to the future and appeal to anything that aligns with his model would be proof, is what he's saying. Anything that would fit in my paradigm that I can squeeze into that is proof of my paradigm.
With that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, hit me up on PayPal and all that good stuff. Another massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on an after show, and I will see you all in the next video.
Well, I mean, it's a malformed question. You know, it's like why?
Yeah. So hit
why?
it. Yeah. So hit them back with another malformed question to show them how malformed it is. Why down? Well, why up? Well, things go down. Oh, so you're gonna ignore all the things that go up? So we're having a ridiculous conversation? What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, but Nathan is saying how just by arguing that, you're giving them an in to get in and make you start explaining things. I was just thinking, yeah, structural support. I could see that. Everything that I see is supported by something. So I wasn't even looking at it at that angle.
What? Because we're arguing within ourselves? Because we're trying to get to the truth? Do they argue with each other? No.
Hold on, you malformed it.
Yeah, Brian didn't argue that. He's just saying it was intuitive. So he's never even claimed that structural support actually means structure. He defaulted at like 6 times yesterday, and all of you ignored it.
Do you know what intuitive means, Arwin?
That it's on a feeling. It's just
it's on a level that's easy to understand, as opposed to the word structure doesn't actually mean structure. That's counterintuitive.
I know, but it's his Irish intuition. That's the conclusion.
Oh, so this is Irish intuition. You like that, Brian, do you? I find that racist.
Hey, can we
I take it.
Time out. Time out. My gosh, don't do this again today. Look, I got a second video up on this topic. You didn't even finish that one. Don't let this go sideways. Stay on the subject of this UFO UAP, please.
Can I second that for you, Ken?
And with that, I want to give Nathan your props.
Brian.
I appreciate it.
D-Rose,
I appreciate what you were saying.
Adam's talking.
Oh, I got an echo.
Just before we move on, D-Rose.
Hold on a second. I'm pretty sure D-Rose was praising me. How dare you interrupt him? Go ahead, D-Rose.
D-Rose, praise him, and then we'll come back.
Can you all go on mute, please? Go ahead, D-Rose.
I was just saying, I want to give you props again. You mentioned this before, but I appreciate you breaking down the reality of the extraterrestrial, alien, new world, the horizon, beyond our perspective, going out, space. The real etymological definition of space doesn't mean up. It means out, extra, territory. That's how you find new worlds. Just like Star Trek looks for new worlds. So you can do that at high altitude and go across the plane and go places that no man has ever gone before. So thank you for saying that.
Then you cut
people,
to the
people from out there can come here to us as well. And they could be considered UFOs or aliens.
You cut to the scene in the Truman Show where Truman asks about what he wants to be. He's asked for what he wants to be when he grows up, and he says, an adventurer, I want to find new worlds. She pulls down the map and goes, it's already all been discovered. Moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Very telling movie. If you've not watched the Truman Show in a while, and you've been, like, let's say you've been in this subject for a couple of years, and you're just finding out a few truths, a few lies, etc., etc., go and watch the Truman Show. It's an eye-opening experience if you've not watched it in a while.
Adam, before I go, are you going to say something?
Well, yeah, just to say, let's park this one, what we were just discussing, because I do want to chat with the guys in the after show and Nathan as well, just to give some examples of what's going off and just why it's not really why the objections there, because it's reared its head. So let's park it for now, and we'll have a chat in the after show, guys. After
we are in the after show.
Right. I mean, when we're not on air, I can't share some of these things on air. So I just
why not?
Want to go.
Why not?
Emma wants to call me names.
No, it's got nothing. No.
Do you want to call? You want to call Dal names? I see.
No, because this is good. This is good. We got very passionate, all of us, and so this is clearly a topic to debate, and we're still doing it for the listeners, yeah? You can see it's still going on. Well, that's how it should be. Doesn't matter which way the result turns out. This is honest, genuine debating amongst ourselves to settle a point, and that's how it should be to me.
Other than
You're
me
wrong,
saying
anyway.
we shouldn't be doing that, I'm saying no, we should stop. Once you've debunked gravity, let's not explain something we don't necessarily need to, because we don't have a claim to be defending.
Hold on. Chocolate said something that made sense. We're talking amongst ourselves, right? I'm not bringing this into the ballers. So I'm back on structural support.
No.
But hold on a
That doesn't resolve my issue. Hold on, stop. No. Saying, nah, I want our discussion on this public platform viewed by tens of thousands of people. Yeah, okay, we want that to be private. Yeah, it doesn't matter what you want. The reason it's being discussed is going to be taken as useful by our opponent. So while it's easy for Brian to say, no, the whole point of the show is that we explore the nature of Earth. We're on a journey of discovery. Yeah, I agree. I'd love to know why the sky is blue also. However, does that mean that as we discuss it, our opponents aren't going to dip into that discussion and go, you guys say the cause of gravity is relative to density disequilibrium. Bang! There's your false dichotomy achieved immediately. Oh, but we were just discussing it amongst ourselves. We didn't want to offer it up for you to use against us. Oh, didn't you? Yeah, but you say the egg goes up because blah, 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 blah. Suddenly you're defending a position you didn't need to.
So then Anthony's experiment was useless then.
No,
That's
I
you
already
telling me.
peppered this and I'll do it again now. Thank you. Nice timing. No, you get to this point that I'm disseminating after you educate yourself about how relative density disequilibrium works. It's scientifically validated. Why wouldn't you be looking into it in this subject? How gravity fails in three-dimensional pseudoscience and fourth-dimensional pseudoscience. How incoherent dielectric acceleration fails. How moving up Earth fails. Once you've done that, you can then respond to anybody who puts the claim to you. So Brian's like, well, if I just forget about it, what happens when you say, well, not all things go down? And I come back with, no, the air is pushing the balloon up. The gas is coming down, and that is forcing the balloon up. All right. So a reassertion of the original position can be overcome because I understand how gas isn't going down. It's moving in all directions. So therefore, I can still overcome the argument. But it doesn't mean that it's going to be weighing heavy on my mind to explain some non-phenomena I don't have as a flat earther moving forward. I've stopped. Do I want to keep rehashing the idea of relative density, reproving it? Let's just take a step back. It's been scientifically validated. What more do you want? You've got empirical evidence for it. But do you need it? What's it been used for since then, other than arguing with Globus about how gravity isn't real? Well, it hasn't.
Right. That's the thing, because you've let them insert a malformed question. They will never understand it until they understand that their question is malformed and saying why down. If they can't understand that, they're thinking you're arguing with them about the cause of downward falling objects and why everything is falling down. That's what they're arguing with you about, not relative density.
Yeah. So once they say
Thank you,
things go
thank
down,
you.
it's wrong. I got it.
Thank you.
Sorry,
Thank you very
Ted, man.
much.
Just at this
So-
stage,
They did it
10th,
anyway.
10th. Give up. It won't happen. This is going to take precedent. I can already.
I don't believe I go to all this hard work to position these videos, and then rather than sequentially follow one another so that you can have a good short or a nice piece, we go to something else that yesterday we can't even play a video for, and you had all day yesterday, but you're going to bring it up now when I've got this other video, which is whistleblower says U.S. has a program to get these UAPs, UFOs, which goes with the first video of NASA, to see how they're manipulating people into this new thing that they want all of us to think is real.
Think of the discussion.
It would be
10th,
nice if
as
we
a-
could finish a dang video.
I appreciate your frustration, and I do take it on board. However, the discussion is like a flowing river, and while you've carved out this direction for the river to take, it's just become an oxbow lake as the force of the people around you, metaphorically the water forming the channel that the water's going to run along, have decided otherwise. Now, I can try, and because of the hard work that you put in, if you're asking me to do that, I can try and dissuade this flow of the river at this point if you want me to.
I gave up yesterday. I gave up yesterday and went with the flow. Now, today, the people realize this is going to be talked in the after show. Adam pretty much said it. Why are we still talking about it?
I realize even Adam tried to accommodate your sentiment in that regard and failed almost immediately. Now, I'm not saying...
back to the
just hear me out. Hello.
Yeah.
Middle of the same sentence. Let's not have this disseminate the same way it did yesterday. Let's keep it on a nice terms, right? I can already detect that's the way it's going now, but this discussion may be altering the flow of the river just by having it. So I'm not saying that I can't do what you want, and if you insist, I will try and merge the rivers and get that Oxbow Lake back on track, but I doubt I can achieve that. I'm just telling you.
Well, I'm okay with listening to the video.
Yeah, me too.
Obviously, I'm one of the key, don't mean this in a big-headed way, but I'm one of the key players in all this, obviously. But I'm okay with listening to the video. I could talk about that anytime.
Agreed. Let's talk about the aliens, because that is going to be the big deception.
So the second video that I just posted in Master D, military whistleblower claims U.S. has UFO retrieval program. And it's at the time marks 8/11 to 11/29.
Oh, so you do actually want me to cue this up now and do it?
Hint.
Doesn't have to be aliens, does it? Could be Nazis on the moon.
Bombshell claims from a military whistleblower. UFO wreckage recovered by the U.S. kept classified by a secret government program for decades. Tonight, a world television exclusive you will only see on News Nation.
What the hell? This is what you want, Neil, isn't it? The dramatic music. This is what Neil wants.
Welcome to Elizabeth Vargas.
I was expecting a response from that. Oh well.
I never said anything about
of course it's going to
dramatic
interrupt
music.
the flow of the... Go ahead, Neil. It wasn't like I
Never
created
said
a nice long pause for you or anything.
I tried to get off mute. I'm sorry. I'm not quick on the finger trigger. Trigger finger, rather. Anyway, I didn't say anything about dramatic music. Adam was on the panel last night. You heard what I said. I just think it would be good if we put a documentary together and talk about the things we talk about here. That's it. Now hit play.
Okay, bossy boots.
Earning your trust every night.
Earning your trust? Really? Is that so?
Every night.
I want a clip of all of the different mainstream broadcasters saying that one after the next off a script. Earning your trust every night, ABC News. Earning your trust every night, BBC News. Earning your trust every night, ITV News.
UFOs exist. The U.S. government found quite a number of them, and they are indeed of non-human origin.
Okay. I mean, I don't disagree with any of those statements. UFOs, that is to say, unidentified flying objects, exist. Yes, I've seen them. I used to have parents, well, not used to have parents. My parents used to live in an area of Britain which was the lowest light pollution area in the whole country because they didn't have a neighbour within a couple of miles of them. And there was no street lights, there was no nothing. So when it was a dark night, you could see everything in the sky if you let your eyes become accustomed to it. And there's loads of crap flying around up there. All sorts of stuff. Yep, I totally agree. Non-human, yeah, based on their ridiculous speeds across the parameters of my vision, I'm going to agree with you. I think that if it was something that was physically made by a man, it couldn't do that. I mean, I don't think they're physical, they're just lights. It was a light show. So non-human, I agree. UFOs, definitely there. Yep. Agree with everything she said so far. Anybody disagree with any statement that she's just made?
But that's not what she's talking about, though, is it?
It's not what I asked. I didn't ask you to read between the lines. She's just made statements. Do you disagree or not?
The only point I would seek clarity on or probably object to would be the term alien, of her interpretation of that word. As for the rest of it, yeah, I could agree with it.
Any more for any more?
Yeah.
Perfect. Let's move on.
Those are the explosive allegations from a former intelligence officer tonight in a whistleblower complaint that the Inspector General is taking very seriously.
Complaint about what? Whistleblower, picture of UFO. I mean, this looks pretty much like what I would see in the sky. I mean, it's got a load of humanized text and bars and stuff around it that looks quite cool. But, you know, in terms of the black blob that you can see, yeah, probably not black, but this is probably a negative image for some reason. Whatever. Fine. Yeah, that's what they look like. Yeah, it's just a blob moving across the sky. Yeah. What's the problem, though? What's the complaint about?
36-year-old Air Force veteran David Grush is exposing what he calls a top-secret military program that has reportedly found wreckage of fully intact UFOs.
Okay. Now, if you've got wreckage, then it's man-made.
No, if you've got wreckage, how is it fully intact?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Wreckage that's fully intact.
Well, hold on. So they're saying this light in the sky we see is physical, and this is the evidence it's physical, this fully intact wreckage.
Yeah, they're taking you from A to D. So here's a light in the sky. Here's quote unquote wreckage fully intact. Okay. Where's the B and C? That is to say that you watched the light in the sky fall from the sky, become the wreckage. Where's the B and the C? No, we've gone from A, light in the sky, to D, stuff on the ground. But the B and C's just been inserted for you.
The government now calls them UAPs, or unidentified anomalous phenomena. For years, there have been whispers and rumors that the government had aircraft of non-human origin. This
Had aircraft of non-human origin? No.
report is the first evidence it might be true. The Inspector General has called Grush's complaint urgent and credible. Tonight, we have a World Television exclusive interview with the whistleblower in which he claims we not only have the aircraft, but the government has been keeping much of its secret from Congress and from the public.
Interestingly enough, they can censor us, but they can't censor this.
Interestingly enough, this sounds like what happened a couple of years ago. There's this thing. Everybody stay home. This thing. And now, there's a world exclusive. You know, it's like, yeah, we know what you're setting up. We know exactly what you're setting up.
Well, I don't know about your speculation. I've seen crap like this for years. So what?
Yeah, but I've seen it too. I've gone to Catalina, dark. Once you face away from the California coast and it's fogged in, I saw lots of things. I mean,
That's not what I mean.
21 shooting stars in one night.
That's not what I mean. I mean, I've seen news reports with red circles around lights in formation many times. Presented like
okay,
this.
that's fine. That's where I'm going to go to eventually. So my point is this: they have to make things happen in the sky to give credence to their heliocentric religion, and that's what they're doing. Whether it's a phenomenon like light, as we see, or they actually do something with something they've created that has lights, and then voila, you have aliens from this heliocentric world of theirs, from other planets, and then now that NASA thing with all those people sitting on the chairs, each one talking for 4 hours, followed by this whistleblower. What's the person in front of that boob tube indoctrination machine going to be talking about at the water cooler tomorrow?
Yes.
What's he blowing the whistle on?
We don't know yet, but I think I just want to agree with 10th. Just one sec. Yes, absolutely. So the idea is to get from A to D and have heliocentrism presupposed in the narrative when describing something that's consequential to heliocentrism. So that's automatically part of your suspension of disbelief. The aliens bit is speculation, but it's dependent on the heliocentric narrative, as opposed to your speculation about them having an alien invasion. But that's inherent in the story itself. They are utilising it to juxtapose their views on their religious worldview of heliocentrism, because it is dependent in this narrative. Go ahead, Adam.
It's a bit like, if light's in the sky, then alien planets in the heliocentric model. There are lights in the sky. So therefore, alien planets. Now, accept that, and let's discuss about whistleblowers. With the tacit acceptance that there are planets, there are aliens, and we're going to discuss that as true based on whether or not NASA are covering that up from us, that they've already been. So it is just reinforcement of the current narrative. And
exactly. You're 3 layers into the bullshit of heliocentrism when you discuss whether or not there's a whistleblower hiding aliens from the already assumed to be true sky vacuum that might have aliens or might not have aliens. Yeah, it's 3 layers into the nonsense to get you to.
What is not whistleblowing is here's a whistleblower from NASA, from our own Department of Physics. You can't have gas pressure without containment. It's not blowing that whistle, is it?
No.
So what's going to happen? And it's going to happen. I'm going to talk to somebody about the black swan, the gas pressure, and celestial navigation. And they're going to say, "You're so arrogant. I just saw a 4-hour video, and then the whistleblower came. You're telling me these people are lying?" See, this is their response to the black swan and to all the good arguments that they don't want to talk about.
Don't
because
do that.
they have to roll this thing out.
Don't draw those sorts of conclusions. Just
Can I say something?
You can once I tell 10th off. No, don't speculate. Why ruin your argument?
I'm not speculating. It's going to happen to me. It has happened to me. I'm not saying anything about the way you're, pivoting this. I'm not going conspiracy. I'm going to say that the next discussion I have, which is like all the other ones I've had, not every single one, of course, they'll say, they've just discovered this, and you're so arrogant. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
The point we've got air temp is they throw that back at you. So we don't have to speak to motivation, but you can say, no, look, even one of their own employees is now admitting to you that they lie. And so he's just telling you they're lying about this bit. So do you believe all the other stuff, but actually you've now yourself misinterpreted what is the real truth of that there's an employee there of that company admitting that they lie to you.
Yes, but for our own good. You
Okay, hold on a
arrogant
second.
flat earther.
Okay, before the back and forth fizzles out, albino black sheep, what did you want to add?
Oh, sorry. I just want to say that it's kind of highlights the hypocrisy, and that the same people that so easily entertain the idea that the Congress and all these structures of power are lying to them cannot entertain the idea that the same structures lie to them about the shape of the earth or this and that. So when it comes to mistrust of the government, it's if it proves the UFO narrative, oh, they're all for it. No, fuck the government. Sorry.
Yeah, human
No,
nature,
I-
though.
listen.
I'm always going to reference Jaron for this because he had the best ever example of it. So he's got to the point where he's figured out that they lied to him. Doesn't matter about what. It's not the nature of Earth at this point, though. That certain narratives in terms of the history hoax, I think he was looking at, they say it's thousands of years old. He's only finding primary source research for 200 or 300 years, and he was selling books at the time, so he had access to old books. Couldn't find any better primary sources for a lot of the information, so he starts postulating that many of the things he is considering in his world aren't real. So he says to his wife, we need to throw it all out. We need to start from scratch. His wife turns around and says, including the globe Earth? And Jaron says, whoa, that's a bit much. No, we're not going to mean when I say throw everything out, I don't mean everything. Because that's how people behave. There's certain things that they have cemented in their ideas of the world to the point where we can say no, to assume that the Earth is a sphere is a begging the question fallacy. But to them it isn't, because the Earth is a sphere. So why is it unreasonable to automatically assume
deeply
so?
attached to their ego. Yeah, it's like if they concede that they've been duped to this level, they would have to destroy every single thing that they hold dear and near to their hearts. And some people, it's like death, kind of. It's like asking someone to kind of give up on the things that are holding us down to the earth, on their foundations.
Hey, this is a
But that's not
reification.
even
This is a
like
reification fabrication. What they're doing, they're using a whistleblower from the pile of liars who've been lying about the planets being able to be landed on and ships being able to fly off of it with other things that are non-human to come to Earth by using one of their liars to say, hey, NASA's been lying to you. I'm a whistleblower because we found some non-human spacecrafts with non-human species in it, which it's a reification that they said before, that there are planets up in the sky that these things come from, that fly off with ships and come down to Earth, and we can fly up there and land on. So
Yes.
it's just a redundant lie.
Well,
of a
on
lie.
a slightly different note, D-Rose, I also have a whistleblower with me. Now, my whistleblower, the what did you use earlier, Adam? Minotaur. My Minotaur whistleblower says that the oxygen levels are raising quite considerably in Narnia, and that the government are hiding it from Aslan. I mean, it's a terrible state of affairs over in Narnia. But my whistleblower is going to tell you how this is all being hidden from Aslan. Go ahead, whistleblower.
Exactly.
Better to discuss that than whether or not you can walk through the back of a wardrobe into another realm.
Well, that's perfect, because in Aslan, in Narnia, they would be lying to Aslan.
Boom.
Oh shit!
When it comes to puns, Kent is our main man.
Oh, very good, Brian.
Nice.
I might say something on this before you move on. I predict that whatever is up in the sky that doesn't look to us like airplanes, helicopters, whatever. I don't know how many people on the panel have seen. I've seen things in the sky and they don't look man-made. Now, I can't prove them not man-made. It's just they don't look or behave man-made. Right? So what about if these things are up there? People like the American government know they're up there. They don't know what they are. They have no control over them, but they can build a narrative around them, that will suit themselves.
I
It's like,
disagree, Brian. In terms of they don't look man-made. I can't think of anything other than that they are man-made. They're not natural. The way in which they're not stars. They're doing unnatural things that seem to be at the will of whoever's in that, because they go off, they go there. What I've witnessed myself when I've seen UFOs, UAPs. So the way I've always thought of it is that isn't a natural thing. That is man-made. Just because it's above the technology level that I'm exposed to right now, I still drew that conclusion myself that is man-made.
well, I don't know. Like, that's why I said I don't know if they are or not man-made. I don't know what they are, but it's likely that the government of America, let's just say, doesn't know either. Do you know what I mean? But it's like Nathan once said before about the ISS. What about if that was just something that was just up there and they didn't know what it was, but they built a story around it? Same kind of thing. Let's use this and build a story around it, even though we don't know what it is. We have no control over it.
Exactly.
Like, it doesn't mean they're not manufactured.
Brian's spot on. Exactly. If you've got something that doesn't quite fit with your narrative, well, then you just spin it to your advantage. Oh, that light doesn't fit with orbital motion. Oh, yeah. What are we going to do about that? Well, make it a spaceship. Okay, no worries. That's a spaceship now. What are we going to call it? We'll call it Mia. Okay, cool. Actually, this spaceship that we're calling it in quotes, we've got better telescopes. We've got more detail now than we did before. Won't be long before the public can see that too. Okay, let's crash Mia and call it the ISS. There was one in between. What was the Skylab?
Yeah, but people had to see that before, Nathan. They can't come out with something. Suppose people seen it before it was even visible to anybody else. And then all of a sudden, here comes the government saying it's the ISS. They would be found out very quick.
What do you mean? That's what they have done. What do you mean? They've spent billions on lying to people about what that is, just because it doesn't jive with orbital motion.
Yeah, I guess they don't care, right?
Well, they've spent millions on it. They do care. They have spent millions on it. And in regards to what I can see from the hot tub in my folks' old farm, flying across the sky, if people were to have that, because they've got, I don't know, infrared cameras or whatever, goggles that it can see, like I used to see. Mark Sargent explained that he got the exact same view through goggles that just cut out certain wavelengths of light. You're like, okay, well, that makes sense. So you got, and we discussed it back and forth, and he got the same exact view I did. Okay, so you don't need those. You just need it to be really dark. Okay. But for all the people who are going, hang on a second, are we being invaded? Well, much better to have that question be asked and already be consciously aware that the government are already looking into it and asking the same questions within the heliocentric narrative of aliens coming from a sky vacuum. So they've got it under control, right? You don't need to worry about it. You don't need to report it to the papers. They're already aware that there's stuff flying around there. Get a photo of it, you might get in the paper so that they can spin the narrative out in the same way they have in heliocentrism. All it is, they're just getting ahead of the game.
You remember Independence, the movie? Independence Day, and the second one, they had that alien craft. Oh, we've had it for years. And the president, I didn't know it's classified. I mean, this is all setting up for a deception. And I think it's extra dimensional, not alien like space or anything.
So let me ask you a question.
What did he do to bring down the ship? Oh yeah, he hacked into the computer and uploaded a virus. Of course he did.
And gentlemen, I don't want to support conspiracy theories or nothing like that. But we are aware of Operation Fishbowl, and there are many who don't know about Operation Fishbowl. How about let's not rule out that what they call it, Operation Project Bluebeam? Are we ruling that out as being a ridiculous conspiracy theory? Because that's an admitted SpaceX whatever thing that's been, that's, I mean, you could consider it a conspiracy theory or not, but could they just
admitted by who?
Lighting things up could they just be shining things in the sky and just using a narrative of alien UFO invasion just to cause panic and hysteria and chaos? But they're actually shining the lights in the sky and they're saying that they got a tangible physical spacecraft, but they really don't because they're just nothing but holograms as being projected in the sky like Batman's signal. Is that possible?
Operation Fishbowl. Who claimed with that? Where did we get this information from?
That's governmental official documented
Okay,
information.
thank you.
Operation Fishbowl. Right. So is this.
I'm saying I don't believe anything the government's saying. So that means it's real
But I'm
because they
saying
got it from the government?
Okay, so
there's
either
no
you take it
reason.
as
There's no reason to not believe someone, especially if they have information. It's best to just look at it. Sorry, this guy started talking as soon as I started.
Hey, everything that's happening now is what they want to happen. Majority of people at the water cooler are going to say, hey, did you hear that whistleblower? And they're under the heliocentric cloud. We're not, and we're talking about it, and they don't have a problem with that either. This is, they are spinning this to cover all peoples with all opinions.
So you're telling me it's not possible for them to spit out some nonsense for people to latch onto. I'm not saying that it is. I'm just saying it is possible that they're disseminating information that they want people to grab onto.
They don't care which information you grab onto, do they? Because as we said at the start, the only thing that's not being discussed, is can you have gas pressure without a container? Every other conspiracy, they don't care because you're in the paradigm. It's just like 9/11, whether it's nukes, terrorists, thermite, they don't care which you go on about because you're in the paradigm still. And that's all that's being displayed here, giving you lots of things to agree and disagree with, except the true contradiction.
No, I don't agree with that. You're not assessing it on the right level. So, like with my guest, do you agree that the oxygen levels in Narnia are rising? Because this whistleblower has just told you that. He knows that it's being hidden from Aslan. I mean, why are you talking about whether or not there's bloody wardrobe doors going to Narnia? This is irrelevant. The whistleblower said Aslan doesn't know. The oxygen levels are definitely rising. We've got all the measurements. Why are you assessing the wardrobe? It seems silly, Adam.
Yeah, and don't I feel
climate
that
change
now?
in Aslan?
So I'm now outlined while you guys discuss the true nuances of whether the levels are rising or not. Exactly.
Correct.
It's important. You know, it could be highly explosive if they keep rising. Aslan needs to know.
Climate change in Narnia. We have gone...
Sorry, I was inserting dramatic music, Chocolate. Sorry.
Sorry.
Hit him with the composition fallacy, Chocolate.
Now we're not doing composition fallacies today. Until later, apparently.
Yeah, we're not done yet.
Some people aren't, are they?
Yeah, gotta be honest, Neil. You caused a lot of trouble yesterday, and you kept interrupting while we talked about you. It wasn't really. Well, 10th, I'm glad we didn't carry on the discussion about gravity. Obviously, with all this dead air and that.
I was waiting for the video to play. It's over.
I thought it
We're
was
waiting
coming.
for you to do what you do, and you just stopped.
Oh, right. I'm going to make a cup of coffee and stuff. Can you talk amongst yourselves for a bit?
So
That could be
he really
dangerous, eh?
wanted coffee. He really wanted coffee, and he threw gravity at me. He's learning all the tricks.
Yeah, he's grimy.
But what do you guys what's your opinions on what 10th is presenting and what's floating around all over the media and social media connected with the Operation Blue Beam, where they
I
told
agree
you
with
don't
10th
fall.
on that.
No,
I agree with
Don't
Hold
fall
on,
for
hold
I
the
on.
think Terrence was talking
agree
about
with
something that
10th.
was really interesting, and he never got to finish. So, if everyone else is okay with it, I would love to hear 10th finish, if that's okay.
Yes.
And what is it you want me to finish?
About
You
the
have to
big
remind me.
deception.
Oh, big
Yeah,
deception.
that's
Yeah,
what we're talking about
Satan,
right
the
now.
prince of power of the air. That's what scripture says. So
No, just
when I see things, I'm trying to finish. So being a Christian, I know that Satan is the prince and power of the air. So I'm not amazed to see all kinds of things happen in the future in the air to match his other lie, which is the spinning monkey ball religion and heliocentrism. Because this is all going to go to verify NASA and all this space stuff, but it's going to be demons posing as aliens, so extra dimensional rather than extraterrestrial is my
through
belief.
AI, maybe. It's interesting that you mentioned Prince of Air because thinking about JPL and Jack Parsons' propulsion jet engine, which is it's all about going up in the air, right? What was his religion? I wonder. Did he
Well,
have
he
like
was a
a?
Satanist.
Was he a open Satanist? Yeah, I wonder if that has anything to do with that.
Right, and what do
Burn-
Satanists do? They
And
open
NASA's
themselves up for influences from the outside, and they are acting out that outside influence. So, I mean, there's something to what Tent is saying. I mean, extra dimensional, you could argue, but it's always going to be in people. There's no physical being suddenly going to sprout forth from pseudo-Ramonian force space or some other dimension. That's not going to happen.
But that's
It's
what
going to
the
be
whole
in people. It's
transhumanism
going
is
to be
about, is
alien
to
behavior. I'm not
provide.
done yet. Alien behavior in people.
I like what
Yeah,
she
it
just
seems
said.
to
Say
me
that
like
again.
in the new.
Transhumanism.
Hold on one
You
second.
said a key word.
One second. It seems to me that these demons, let's call them that, they're always looking for a body to dwell in. Even when I read scripture, when Jesus cast out the demons, they asked to send us in the swine. So they're always looking for a body. And it's interesting that all these alien abductions, you see people getting poked and prodded. I don't know, there's something to it.
That's what the whole cybernetics, eugenics thing is all about. That's what transhumanism is going to lead to create vessels that these entities can come and interact with us through these vessels.
Nah, it's already personifying it
too
too much.
much.
This is all spiritual stuff. I mean, there are spirits. There's like you can tap into things and then suddenly get suggestions that are very different from what you're normally used to. It's even like in group
agree.
spirit. This is a very normal thing. And there's just people out there that do things to themselves which make them really deranged, and then something very away from human type influence, a spirit, a frequency, a demon, you could say, but that's personifying it, comes and they let themselves be that. And that can definitely be translated to, yeah, demons out there are looking for a body. That's from the metaphysical perspective of it. But
Bahare,
And
it's
that's
going to be
exactly
through
what I'm
people.
saying. But
Bahare,
that's why they do study that consciousness. That's why they do study how to like upload your consciousness, and all of that stuff is really about that. It's about transference. They're trying to reach that. I know that this might be a little too much though right now. So
Bahare, is that how you pronounce your name?
It's actually not for me, sister. Keep going.
yeah.
Okay, so it says also that beware of deception 3 times. Jesus said Matthew 24, considering the end. And it is going to be so effective that if it was possible, even the elect, but that's not possible. So it's going to be a show in the sky. It's going to be a deception of great magnitude that if it was possible, even those who are saved could be fooled, but the Holy Spirit will let them. So it is going to be something about this alien, about this heliocentric lie. They've been building it up for how many decades now with all the softening, with all the space
Absolutely.
shows, all the movies, everything else. Whereas I remember in the 60s, it was like UFO, and we get magazines and try to read on UFO, and everyone was crazy UFO. Now I just showed a video where there's these 20 or 30 NASA officials on the panel admitting, and it's just changed from the 60s to now. All the movies from the 60s to now, from my favorite Martian to Star Trek, Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, the Marvel, everything is saying there's life outside of us, and we're looking for contact.
So
That
it's
is going to
set
be
up
the
for
great
grand
deception.
illusion.
Absolutely. And that's why they're pushing AI so hard. And that's why they're pushing AI sentience becoming a reality so hard. Oh, if these are sentient beings, could they be aliens then? They're living in a different dimension. They're living in the digital world and all of that. Oh, the metaverse, all of that. Like that is the UFO of today. That will be a whistleblower 10 years from now coming out and saying that is our UFO today of AI, it's becoming quantum computing, and all of this is leading to that same deception of yes, there are sentient being outside of this, dimension, whether it's terrestrial, physical, or metaphysical dimension.
So, Tent, you're
Are
saying
you
that
saying
all of this
equal
softening-
rights for
If I may,
gremlins?
if I may, because I've
Let me
been
do
trying
this
to
real
talk.
fast. I got a good one.
Okay,
Real
go
fast,
ahead.
and then you can go right after me. So, Ted, you're saying all of that softening up that they did with all of those shows you mentioned, they're setting up for the grand illusion.
Yeah, has to be, because we're all being told, shown in the news. Every Disney thing my grandkids watch has a globe and space people, alien. I can't believe it. I have to sit there and just say, that's just entertainment, right? And they go, yeah, Papa, we know the earth is flat.
Yeah. So I was just gonna say that, man. Like, I don't see anything but us still being distracted. I mean, like, people have really, really imaginative minds. You can give them a seed and it will grow on their own. That's why all of these anti-flat earthers have their own version of what the world is supposed to be. That's why they've gone off of script. And when we talk about alien invasions and other than physical beings, other beings, this, that, and the third, what they're preparing us for, it's a big ass distraction from the life you should be living as a logical.
No, that's a good point.
Can I
Eli,
respond to that, please?
Yeah, in a minute. Let me respond to Eli. That's a very good point. But at the same time, God is sovereign, and his providence is always at work. So the point is, what Satan is spinning is a lie, and what the governments who are lying to us, God is also using to wake up people. I mean, look at the show here. Look at what we're discussing. I mean, gas pressure without containment, the black swan, all these different arguments, and celestial navigation to boot. And so this is a time for people to choose. Which way are they going to go? Are they going to sit and discuss, or are they going to just be comfortable in the illusion that they're living in?
Right. So I have another feeling. I don't think. Hold on, one more time. I don't think there's going to be a grand spectacle alien invasion. I think that the alien invasion is the other side of the coin of the promise of exploration of other planets and Mars, all that. Something they postponed forever. Well, guess what? Alien invasion ideas have been out there, well, very thickly since the 90s. It became like television through X-Files. So it's been something on the other side of the promises of exploration. They're never going to do it. It is a pure distraction. And if they're going to simulate any kind of like alien invasion, it's going to be soldiers that are going to be wired to virtual reality systems, which they are already starting to use for like special observation at night, etc. And then they're going to be drugged, and they're going to go through a simulated space fight, which is imprinted on them to being real, and then separate them from non-believers on Earth that aren't going to get to see anything like that. And then there's going to be a rift between the initiated soldiers that have gone through that illusion of an extraterrestrial threat, have fought in space in their memory, and they're going to be polarized against the people that are unbelievers against that real threat. That is something that might happen.
No, you're right. Hang on now. Now think about this. The whole mission is to
see how much we love space that we can't even. Like, no, there's not enough space on the mic.
Go ahead, Eli. I'll wait for you. Go.
No, I don't have anything to say other than like, you could have some like 2-bit setup of some. You could probably at this point, as mushy as people's brains are, have like a shadow puppet, sock puppet war, and say this is the alien invasion, and their minds will fill in the blank, and they probably will fall for something like that.
All right. So in response to Arwen and Eli, it doesn't have to be anything you're entertaining now, because the grandest trick of heliocentrism is to say there is no God of creation, like the Bible says. So you don't want a God, because if you have a God, then you have the devil and demons. So the greatest trick is to say neither God or the devil or demons exist. That's heliocentrism, evolution, Big Bang, etc. But in reality, there is a God, the creator, and there's an evil in this world, and we call him Satan and his demons, okay? And we have the fall of man. So now what if, in order to keep that first thing going, they can't show a real devil, they can't show a real demon, but they do it through, as Bahare said, through virtual and AI. And so they mesh the brains and all the, they find a way to tell you this is happening, but it's nothing more than actual demons' possession of that body. But no one's going to say it's demon possession, because it's AI, it's just through a computer, it's through technology. So they still keep the lie going that there's no creator in the Big Bang, and here we got heliocentrism alive and well.
Well, technically,
no deception.
Hold on. I want to respond to that.
Of course.
Because it's a good statement, but like computers don't have a vacant spot to be filled by extra dimensional entities as humans do. But here's the thing. Programmers can definitely be possessed in order to create an artificial intelligence that will be basically programmed by the demon and its influences. So through that, it can have, but it's always going to be just a digital thing that's a simulation.
I'm not saying it's real, Arwen. I'm just saying they'll give the appearance of it.
Wait, time out. That, and that's why I spoke up initially. If anybody's confused, before you guys hear me out, like that's the kind of thinking I strongly disagree with. That's our minds being taken away to imagination land to think that there's artificial intelligence on the level that we're talking about is purely fantasy.
I agree. I'm not saying there is. It's just going to be the appearance of. There'll still be a God, and there'll still be a God, and there'll still be demon possession, but they can't make it look that way. It's just the appearance. I'm not saying computers or artificial intelligence doing any of that.
But even God, I mean, God, or there's no message or informed like it. There's no way for me to come up with. I wake up in the morning and I say, hey, all this stuff they're doing, God is telling me that they're getting ready to fake something, and then the real demons and this and that are going to come in. And how do we even how about tomorrow's just going to be the same as today? They're going to say some shit that's not going to be true. Some people are going to be duped. Because of that, they're going to be in this collective delusion, and the way that they were the last 2 years, the way that they've
But
always
they
been.
haven't. But they haven't, Eli. They've changed. They denied UFOs. Now they've been hiding them. Now they're openly saying we've had them all these years. So you see, it's this little, it's not little, it's this very big,
1984.
it's this very long story that takes time to condition the world, not just one little zip code area
Yeah.
of people. So they've been very patient. They've denied everything. Those people were crazy. Now the crazy people are the NASA scientists who probably were abducted. I mean, this thing is just moving towards admission that there are these things when there weren't, and we have them. The whistleblower comes through. It's all setting up for something. So
Right.
it is changing.
So, Ted, let me ask you a question. What would cause a great falling away? Other
Well,
than
I
an
could tell you,
alien?
I could tell you right now, if aliens came and said they're the ones who created us, and they backed the heliocentric paradigm, and so now not only there's no God, our God was an alien.
Bingo.
Ancient
That's where we
alien.
get it from, Eli.
Ancient alien, even better, has a beard.
I mean, well,
Jesus
see,
talks
I
about a
would be
falling
Yeah,
away in
all
the
your
ill-prepared
church.
if I
major
thought.
religions, all
I
your
would be
major
Relax,
prophets,
ill-prepared.
Neil.
they were just
Neil,
ancient aliens.
relax.
I would be ill-prepared if I thought that heliocentrism was the only way they could pawn off terrestrial, these beings from wherever. Because there's a host of flat earthers who are outer ponders, right? Who think, well, the outer space is out there. They still got everything else that they were talking about is true, because my mind is now went into speculation land. And whenever they do anything, I'm going to have this major reaction to it. I'm going to, whether it's the heliocentric lie or that's done in a way with, there's still people who can feed into that same thinking for no reason
Eli, you're
other
just
than the enemy said XYZ.
Yeah, I'm just
Eli,
correlating it with the great falling away.
no, forget all that, Neil. Eli, that was a great point. There's so many stories, like Adam was saying, they just don't want to hear about the black swan and gas pressure without context. It's all to get us talking about this stuff, so that when you have the basis of what takes the whole thing down, you don't talk about that. So yeah, you're right. They're going to go here. There's a bunch of flat earthers there. We know there's a bunch of flat earthers that don't believe in the scientific method or accept it as empirical. Look, we argue within family at holidays. My goodness, no one's going to have everyone on the same page on any of this stuff. But what we're looking at is the softening up period over the years. And I was born in '59. I saw things some of you guys had never seen. I've seen how slow rollout this whole thing is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It can't be all for nothing. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's gotten worse. It's gotten to where you were crazy in my day, nuts, to now it's science. Not real science, but their science.
No, now you're
Now we
crazy
got-
if you don't believe in aliens.
Right. Look at Neil deGrasse Tyson and Michio Kaku and they're putting out these. You can't believe the videos these people are putting out just recently.
Wow.
I'm scared to death of this
That's
thing.
cool.
We're in a black hole. Blah 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 blah. It's like what? What are you setting up, Neil?
Science fiction became science real quick, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly. I'm finding people not thinking, using. I mean, listen, I looked at my teacher and I said, I don't believe any of these things. He said, neither do I, but I have to teach it. And I shut the whole thing down at a very young age. And I just watched space movies as entertainment. I didn't even think about anything. I say, yeah, that's not real, but it's fun to watch. Okay, all of a sudden, there's this explosion of flat Earth. All of a sudden, it's like the minute I saw it, instant, right? Boom! I knew it all the time. I gotta go disprove it, or else no one's gonna believe me. So I jumped into it for the first time, where I'm actually learning the arguments of something that I, as a kid, knew wasn't true. And of course, that's my story. You've all heard it. So now I'm on the front lines with you guys fighting this great lie. But what have I seen that maybe some of you haven't seen? The rapidness of space, aliens, and all this, where in my day you were crazy. Now they're scientists and they speak at JPL.
I would
Must be
say it's a little
wild.
bit different. I would say they're leaving us make up the rubbish ourselves. And the deception is that we are being deceived into believing something's going to happen and we're making up all the rubbish. And it's all just keeping heliocentrism alive. I don't think they have any grand, there's no grand big invasion coming. I just think it's all just keeping heliocentrism alive. Because once they have heliocentrism, then people have a choice to either be atheist or a believer in a creator. Whereas if heliocentrism is taken away, atheism is not a choice.
Correct.
I mean,
Brian, what you just
you're
said,
right. Look at
what you just said validates what I'm saying. If everyone on Earth knew there was a creator, then there'd be a bunch of rubbish things that people would make up about the creator. Since they've introduced heliocentrism, you got rubbish things about heliocentrism, rubbish things about the creator. Everybody's got their own opinion. Where do we find truth, et cetera, et cetera? So this is the whole thing. This is why the great call of God is ask, seek, and knock. I will answer that prayer.
That's a little bit different from what I said.
How
what
so?
I said is that they can make up rubbish because they have the option to not believe in a creator.
Right, but that's just an option. I gave you a scenario where everyone believed in the creator and they'd still make up rubbish about the creator. It's just the way people are.
yeah, I have an example, right? We're all truthers. We would think that, well, at the very least, because we know that that we're not in this heliocentric universe and blah 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 blah. Guess what? People still think that the government is the enemy, right? They take words that we all understand and they confuse people. Now, what the hell is Eli talking about? The government? Aren't they the enemy? Aren't they lying? Well, listen, if we believe in God and God has a kingdom, guess what? Just like logic, something that we can't empirically, scientifically validate is there, but know is there. It's a prerequisite for everything that we're doing right now, including having a conversation. He also created government. So how could that evade us? Seeing as that we're supposedly the sharpest tools in the shed. And I'm saying that to say, if people don't just, if people keep, I understand what you're saying, 10th. Yes, there's something that's been rolled out, slowly since you've been paying attention to all this. In fact, I was just watching Yu-Gi-Oh! Last night, and the setting is in space. Some aliens took over these two kids, and then all of a sudden, in the same first episode, they're like having a duel on his spaceship or something like that. And it's like all of these holographics and everything, and it's like, what the hell? When I watched Yu-Gi-Oh! It was cool and all, but they weren't in space and all, and now everything is space. Yeah, true. But what can we do with that information? I mean, how do we prepare people for what are we preparing them for?
And with that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.